Here we are again, suffering through all of this. Remember, we spent a good 4 hours last session answering largely one question. This video should be up tomorrow at 9 a.m. if you want to go watch it. But I'm not talking about the one I'm doing now. I'm talking about the one right before this. Largely to answer one, what seemingly very simple question. When installing a cluster with kubeadm, if you want HA, which they kind of refer to parenthetically, then you need to cluster. Let's see. If your plan is to upgrade a single control plane kubeadm cluster to high availability, and it says here upgrade, right? You should specify the control plane endpoint to set a shared endpoint for all control plane nodes. Very, very cryptic language there. Such an endpoint can be either a DNS name or an IP address of a load balancer. I wish that they had said virtual IP address, but then that would have been overstretching because some of the physical load balancers like F5, which is something I just learned about today, which, by the way, is also in the landscape. Did you see that? It's in the Kubernetes landscape. Yeah, I didn't see it here, but F5 is here. The Trafic is here. Stuff I know. Metal LB. I don't understand. I mean, these are internal. So anyway, so in order to answer that one question, what is the argument I am going to provide to the control plane endpoint because I want eventual HA? It's a rather big 4-hour rabbit hole. And the answer for me ultimately came down to, thanks to crictl Potamus, who's yelling at me for doing it wrong, because I'm new, came down to kube-vip, which, and I quote, is made by a friend from crictl. crictl is presented at KubeCon and other stuff like that. And so, and I'm new, so I'm going into this, and were I doing it fine? Okay. But to tell you the truth, this is a very complicated question. So if you're just doing a Homelab out there, you're like, I want to emulate my enterprise. I'm like, okay, I don't have however many grand to buy F5. I did do some internal research, and I found out that I have our 3 clusters that I maintain at work: production, infrastructure, and dev. That only our production cluster uses an actual device, a physical device, which does manage what things it gets load balances properly. That means if there's an IP that's not answering among the 5 in our control plane, that it just doesn't send any request to it, right? The 2 other lesser, we'll say, minor clusters, which is crazy because one of them runs our Elasticsearch cluster. It's all of our monitoring observability all runs off it. Are that one and the dev one? They both use DNS round robin, right? So they have the infrastructure has 5 IP entries in the DNS table, and you do dig and you see 5 of them there, and they're not virtual IPs at all. Those are all actual IPs. If one of the control plane API servers is down, it just you get an error, and the other you'll hope you just do it again so the other one works. That is not high availability. That's not even a load balancer. There's nothing. That's like a really, really poor way to do it. But that's what we're doing in production, and I just realized that that's how we're doing it. So enter all of these other options, right? The problem with these other options is that stuff has to be in the same ARP space. And if you don't know anything about networking, I'm sorry, I can't go into it with you right now, but it has to be so that if you do use ARP, so that if you were using ARP, that these devices would all be able to resolve ARP to answer properly. So if you go, if you are asking for an IP address, a virtual IP address, the ARP election ARP is something that's happening underneath the IP layer that's deciding, okay, I'm going to tell you what, MAC address, what machine address is going to go with your IP based on what's available. And that's super cool. I'm not API. So that's super cool and all, but that is not, so all the API nodes would need to be in the same level 2 domain. Exactly. And so, yeah, they'd all have to be in the same level 2 domain. Now, at my place of work, I have a feeling that we can't do that because they're already doing magic at the ARP layer for some other stupid fucking reason, because it's screwed up our Kubernetes networking at one point, and it goes way, 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 way back. They've got some fancy IP table stuff going on that predates me by something like 20 years probably, and they can't change it. So I have a feeling that kube-vip is not going to be an option for them for this kind of thing. but it is for me over here on my cluster and my pretend company that I'm setting up, which is, if you want to know, is I'm pretending to set up, an academic machine learning think tank that's underfunded. That's my imaginary company that I'm setting up. So I'm making architecture decisions as a CTO based on that as my company, which is quite honestly the kind of company that I want to target in my consulting eventually if I ever leave, the contract world. And I got a lot to learn before I'm able to sell this stuff up for somebody professionally. I mean, I can set other stuff up like crazy, but I can't do that. And I can code like crazy too. So, and a lot of ops people that can't code at all. So I'm just making myself feel better there. Because I promise I'm smart enough, I'm good enough, and gall darn it, people like me. Until they kick you out of the Senate for... Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Decided to go with kube-vip systems. So we need to figure out how to set up kube-vip. I happen to have found a couple of tutorials. This one's pretty recent, it's last year. Exactly a year ago, almost. And we're gonna follow that. We're gonna follow that tutorial, assuming I can get there again. If you want, I can put it into your thing here. And I'm just gonna claim ignorance again. Hopefully the ignorance will benefit you, because I really don't I don't know things about this. I have to learn a lot. So maybe you can come along with me for this crazy ride. So let's go ahead and go to that one. I'm going to start up a links links thing, and oopsie, a links blah. Looking at blah.com. There isn't a blah.com. Well, I'll just do my other search. Let's see, kube-vip documentation, kube-vip, which is the one we went to. There it is. Okay, so I'm just going to read it really fast. Some of the stuff I've already gone over, but I'm going to do it again. So kube-vip can provide Kubernetes native HA load balancing under control plane nodes. We don't need to set up HA Proxy and keep lived, which, by the way, it reminds me, we did kind of abandon some reading we were doing of how to set up HA in Kubernetes, which was recommended to me by, so here's another document that kind of randomly suggested to me by LBG. I do need to add this to my log under the related section so I don't forget. But it does talk about HA Proxy and the other one, which are old. And the reason I put the Tanzu reference here, which made a few people chuckle when they read it, it was apparently kube-vip was a skunkworks project at VMware, and before it went public. So that's a good thing, and it was used to replace HA Proxy. It's also listed after her. So this is the document that goes through how to do HA Proxy, and apparently HA Proxy and keep alive D are more likely to be the kind of things you would find in the enterprise right now. LB ingress for trigger bigger hassle. It is pretty big hassle, yeah, because it's not considered part of Kubernetes. I mean the gateway stuff, yeah. So we have HA Proxy here, and then we have you can HA Proxy you can run as a static pod apparently too, which we are going to do for kube-vip. Anyway, so then they have kube-vip as the last thing, and I don't know how to do it. We're gonna go read all of this. This is another guide. We have 2 or 3 guides. So BGP is a network thing, and a BGP condition will advertise virtual IPs. I don't know if we can use BGP, and we'll get to that. I think ARP is the more reliable one. I think you have to make sure that everybody supports BGP, and I think that's talked about in the other tutorials. So, and then bootstrap the cluster. Now the actual cluster bootstrap is described in what can take place. Okay, so now it says, look at this. Most likely cannot use BGP. That's what people have been saying. So here's the thing. Okay, so we were on the official Kubernetes documentation, right? And we're like, oh, hey, I'm going to make a cluster with kubeadm. And I hit this thing like, make sure you know what you're doing here. And there's like, it doesn't have any listing whatsoever about how to do this. There's no list to this other document. Thank God we found it. And then we go, so if you're going about your reading, which by the way, none of this stuff that actually, no, that's true. This stuff I'm reading right now is available on the certification exam. However, it's not going to be covered in the certification exam, which is why I'm not taking it, by the way. It's just a waste of my fucking time. If it's not going to talk about HA issues in the CKA and all of this prep that I'm doing to actually maintain a high availability cluster is going to be completely wasted on it, I don't want to take it. It's not worth my time and money because it's not going to be measuring what I know. So anyway, that's my take on the cert thing. If you want it, fine. So it says here, now the actual Bootstrap cluster. So it says it should be like big, bold, and then a comma. Now the actual cluster Bootstrap, as described in highly available clusters with thing. Can you have any? It's like, okay, now you can go do all that other crap that you just read about. Because you couldn't do it before. Note that if API server destination port has been configured to a different, before 6.4.3 above, kubeadm init needs to be something different. So, and it says here, ta-da, look, you can put your VIP cluster. There is the answer. The secret answer that took me 4 fucking hours to understand. Sorry for the swearing, but, it said all this jazz about make sure you have control plane endpoint set and 0 about how to choose how to manage it. Not even links to anything. So that did kind of spin me up a little bit. Because I was on the clock doing this stuff, and I refuse to be, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get mad. I'm frustrated by this because I'm spending a lot of time, more than the average amount of time, getting ramped up in this technology, which is why people hate Kubernetes, by the way, because it takes so fucking long to get ramped up in it. I've been doing this for 2.5 years, and I've only successfully got a cluster up from scratch on-prem once. And it was with excessive help from the people in the cluster because it's so fucking complicated. There's so many different moving parts. This is why everybody just says, oh, punts. And you say, hey, I'm going to use GCP or Azure. It seems about right. So, if you're a person who considers himself a respectable operations person or sysadmin or whatever, SRE, if you want to use that stupid term, then that's fine. I'm just, it makes me angry. Kubernetes makes me angry because it should not be this hard. It really shouldn't. It really should not be this hard. Nothing in IT should be this hard. Yes, things are hard, blah, 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 but we need to simplify. And just getting this one line, VIP my cluster.local. And I think it's interesting that it's doing .local. Yeah. I guess that must be the actual DNS name. Let's see, the load balancing, is used for the load balancing API server and a virtual IP with a DNS name, VIP cluster.local. Now, we're not going to do .local. You should not use .local for anything, ever. You should use .example or .local LAN, and they don't talk about that here at all. Some videos back, I went through why that is. But .local is used by a bunch of things, and not the minimum, least of which is Avahi and a bunch of other stuff. So you should not use .local. It's been kind of corrupted. You should use .local LAN, or in my case, I use example.com because my stuff is going to land on a web page usually. It is used by Kubernetes. Exactly. Well, if it uses .local, then that would be one of those reasons, right? Because there's just so many other things that are going to use .local. Kubernetes back for adoption is Kubernetes. I agree. So, yeah, but the thing that's really crazy is that, just a slight side note on that. So the whole Kubernetes being held back because of Kubernetes, but the whole world is like charging down off the cliff of Kubernetes, and there's no coming back. Everyone's like, oh, let's put everything in Kubernetes, and we're talking everything. So the more that decision for the whole IT industry to go with Kubernetes keeps being a thing, and we still haven't worked out the second day issue and all that other stuff, it does make me a little concerned for IT in general, because some of this stuff you just don't roll back, once it gets deployed. It's not, and I don't know. We're all gonna find out, because the world has decided Kubernetes is the standard, whether you like it or not. There's a few dissenters out there, but for the most part, the entire IT industry has decided Kubernetes is the answer. So just like they've decided, other things, like, you got to pick one from, one of 3 cloud providers, one of 3 distro providers. So if you want a job, you got to know it. I hate React. Same thing. How's it going, Alpha? So we're pretty good. I'm pretty good. I'm going to be better after I get this done. So because I just want a Kubernetes cluster up so I can back up my etcd because I got to have the backup script done tomorrow, and we haven't even got to the part where we're going to make a decision about whether etcd is in the cluster or not until dissent approves. Yes, I know. It's kind of the way it is. What we're working on tonight, we are working on kube-vip. So let's go. So this is a thing, and then we're going to go back to here's the actual main document we're trying to follow, and we'll be back to that. We have etcd stuff, but we're not going to get to that probably tonight. If I do nothing more in the next 3 hours, I want to get kube-vip working on my clusters. That's it. And a virtual IP. I just want to get a virtual IP working. That is it. The extent of what I want to do. After that, I'll consider celebrating in some fashion. So anyway, so here's this other one. Beowulf clusters. And we might. I was just about to get into Beowulf clusters. I actually interviewed for a job using Beowulf stuff back in the day, the hardware-based stuff. But I don't think so. Yeah. So so here we go. I'm just gonna read this tutorial. This is a pretty nice post from whoever this person is. Let's probably give him credit. I don't even know. Skills, apparently. Is that their actual name? Skills? Word of advice. Don't name yourself Skills. Hey, Red Scroll. A kube-vip can provide Kubernetes native HA, high availability, low balancing under control plane nodes. We don't need HA Proxy or kubeadm, which are the two things mentioned before kube-vip in that other document from Kubernetes we were just reading. Kube-vip is an open source project that proves high availability and low balancing for Kubernetes clusters, both internally and externally. So what they're getting at, and they're going to say it here, it has been used in VMware's Tanzu project to replace HA load balancer and vSphere deployments with kube-vip. In this article, we will first understand how kube-vip can be used for Kubernetes control planes, high availability, and load balancing. The load balancing features of the Kubernetes control plane. So this is the thing, and I talked about this earlier today. If you're just coming to Kubernetes new, which you are, you're probably swimming in frustration right now. But if you are, then it's super important that you understand that the static pod that we're going to set up on the control plane for inbound setup with kubeadm, virtual IP is completely different than the load balancer type that you deploy inside of a Kubernetes cluster. And one thing I like about this little write-up is it actually very specifically calls this out. I'm just kind of telling you about it in advance. Features. This is actually gives you kind of a lay of the land that I didn't have before when people were yelling at me to use kube-vip. Originally created to provide an HA solution for Kubernetes control plane. That's what I just talked about, what I'm trying to do right now. kube-vip has evolved over time to consolidate the same functionality into load balancer type services for Kubernetes. So once again, let me just remind you, the reason we're doing all of this is because if we want to cluster with kubeadm, that's HA, we need to provide an argument value to control plane endpoint. Preferably a single DNS name that will resolve dynamically to whatever IP is available among our 3 control planes, actual IPs, right? That is the goal. That is the goal. And so we can't proceed with our kubeadm install until we have that. And that's why we're reading this. So VIP addresses can be IPv6 or 4. We had a huge thing. We spent at least 4 hours deciding that v6 is shit for private homeland and for private networks in general, and that you should probably not, if you're using pfSense anyway, if you're OpenSense and pfSense, don't use it. I have S traces you can go look at, so I'm not going to go there. We're IPv4. If you want the totally long, bloody history of it, why I went with IPv4, go back and watch some of my previous videos where I talk about this, and I sit there and we S traced a simple web request or simple ping commands that were being told that, hey, you already sent stuff out. So it was getting natted back, and so we never resolved whether that was a point release bug problem in OpenSense, which it actually might have been, or anything else, because I'd already switched to IPv4 to get it to work after that. And then I upgraded to .4 instead of .0, which is what I was on OpenSense, which is that's my main inbound thing. And it's too bad it doesn't have some sort of load balancing hassle, stuff like this, but that, that's some pretty high end stuff. You're not going to get that on your cute little OpenSense router thing. Control plane with ARP. Okay, so VIP addresses can be defined by IPv4. We're going to do that. Control planes with ARP layer 2 or BGP. I hear that BGP is a problem. We're not going to be doing it. We're going to be using ARP. ARP is tried and true and been around forever. Assuming you don't have ARP conflicts, you may already be doing crazy things with ARP. God help you if you are. I really hope that we aren't at work, but we're going to talk about that. Use leader election and raft control plane. So raft and leader election is the reason you have to have 3 of everything. So for example, if you ever run across somebody who has 2 control planes, you should laugh in their face because they don't understand leader election and raft. This is an algorithm basically that says, hey, we're going to elect the leader. We're going to elect one of them to answer. And that's why you always have 3 or an odd number of things, 5 if you have a production control plane, which is what is recommended by the Kubernetes docs, which are not always accurate, as Kreger was reminding us, for specifically scope of how many nodes can go in a cluster. So anyway, control plane HA with kubeadm static pods. This is what I'm going to do right here. This is something interesting that I hadn't read about before. Control plane HA with K3S and other daemon sets. So when we talked about the HA with static pods, there was a kind of erupted some interesting conversation earlier today about static pods in general. I was like, there's no such thing as static pods, and there it was right in front of me. And it's like a critical part of kubeadm setup. A static pod, just a reminder, really, the TLDR on this that I can now describe because I didn't know about what they were before. A static pod is a pod that runs outside of Kubernetes. Yeah, let me say that again. A static pod is a pod that runs entirely outside of Kubernetes. It's a Kubernetes pod, and you're like, well, Mr. Rob, how can you possibly run a pod outside of Kubernetes? And this is what it does. It is a pod that is run by the kubelet, specifically configured in the configuration file of the endpoint that has no communication whatsoever and control of it whatsoever from the API through Kubernetes itself. Now, to confuse you, it actually has a thing called a mirror that it creates. That's a totally read-only thing. It's a huge bad idea. In fact, as people were yelling about today, there are most people and this is why I'm talking about the daemon set thing right now. In order to confuse you, they created a mirror of this static pod that has a different way to identify it. It has, if you're looking, you have to find it. There's a what's it called? An annotation. There's an annotation that has it, and it has a naming convention, right? So you'll do get pods and it'll pull up, right? It'll pull up in your get pods on the host. You'll be like, oh, okay. But it's I believe it's in it's probably in the kube system namespace. So, and I don't have one to go query right now to show you, but you have to be able to identify it. The reason I think that we need to tell beginners this like right away is because the first time they see one of these things and they try to change something on a static pod and they realize there's no fucking way for you to change it from the command line. You have to SSH into the host node and change the kubelet configuration file in order to change a static pod. And you have to do that. There's no other way. But so, there was a lot of heated discussion, not really anger, about static pods in general. And some people suggested even that the entire, the Kubernetes steering committee and people like that don't want static pods to exist, but they can't get rid of kubeadm until they do. So they're never going to go away. But then I saw this second line here and it says, oh, okay, well, they're working with daemon sets. Now, daemon set is managed by it. A daemon set is guaranteed, but you have to have Kubernetes to run a daemon set. So now you get a chicken and the egg situation going on. And that's, that's the problem. That's the problem. You can't have, you can't have both. You'd have to have some sort of independent system. So this is, static pods are better than yet another system that has to run on there that can't be tied in at all to anything. So apparently they are used for things. And I don't know what else static pods are used for, but now I know that they exist. And to tell you the truth, you probably would never even deal with a static pod. Is there any question about static pods on the Kubernetes certification exam? Does anybody know? Does anybody know if they even mention them? I'm guessing no. They are on the documentation, but I don't think... they'll probably ask you like some multiple guess question. Only used for this use case. Right. So I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be on the CKA. I'm pretty sure that, it stands to reason that you would never have to deal with static pods if you're using a cloud provider. This is one of the many things the cloud provider does for you. This is what they want you to do. I mean, let's just be real. Most of the members of the Cloud Native Foundation want you to use the cloud because that's where the money is. So they want you to go to GCP or Azure or something like that. Yeah, people use them for other cases, but this is really the only real case. I agree. So the point I'm trying to make is, in fact, are there static pods involved with cluster API? I'm just curious. I would think they would have to do something with that. Static pods run the CK, but I took the CK in 2017. Wow, yeah. Okay, so anyway, that is a thing that I now understand. But it's also the reason I was making all the point about the just using half the stuff that I'm doing. I would say at least half. You're never going to see it in a cloud deployment because you don't have to do it. A cloud deployment magically has all this stuff for you. An infrastructure provider, they magically have all this stuff for you. They've already taken care of the ingress. They've already taken care of load balancing. They've already taken care of bootstrapping and all that stuff. It's like totally hidden from you. So most people that use Kubernetes are never, ever going to see any of this. And I think that's a shame because I think if you want to be able to do on-prem, we need more attention to these things and simplify them. And maybe there'll be more momentum behind things like cluster API and stuff like that to simplify all of this. Because I think on-prem is an option. I think it should always be an option. I don't like being forced to use the cloud. I just don't. Never have. So anyway, service load balancer with ARP elect leader. Okay, so this is the load balancer service. This is the internal API stuff. So basically, kube-vip. Here, actually, I'm just going to read it to you. If you know Kubernetes, you already know about what the load balancer type is, right? So kube-vip actually does do that as well, as kind of a metal LB complement, I guess. But that's a completely different topic. That's what I'm trying to get to. So HA Proxy and kube-vip for HA clusters. In the old days when we created Kubernetes clusters in a private environment, we needed to prepare in a private environment. We needed to prepare a hardware software load balancer to create a multi-controller plane cluster. More often than not, we would use HA Proxy plus kubeadm to achieve this functionality. Typically, we created 2 load balancer VMs and assigned a VIP. Then use the VIP to serve the load balancer and redirect the traffic to one of the Kubernetes control plane nodes on the back end via the VIP. This is how you get that magical one domain name or one IP that really is serving up the traffic to 2 or other things. And I think Trafic actually does the same thing, but I don't hear Trafic mentioned in this space very much. So I don't know. Next, let's see what happens if we use kube-vip. Kube-vip can run on control plane nodes with static pods. These pods identify their other hosts on each node through ARP conversations. So if you don't know what ARP is the underlying protocol. It's local only. It's a local protocol to the subnet and that space. There's better words for that. But if you're new to this, you need to know networking, right? If you don't know what ARP and IP and TCP and all that are, then you shouldn't be here. I mean, those are things you have to learn. You don't have to be a network admin, but you need to know how that stuff works. Bottom line, I'm going to really, really, really summarize this. Okay, so when your computer says, hey, I want it, when you try to go to an IP address or a name, actually, when you try to go in a name like in a web browser or something, right? The first thing your computer does is it says, hey, where's my DNS server? And it looks for locally, and then it looks upstream 1 or 2 hops, however many it needs, and it gets an IP address that goes with the name. So example.com could be whatever, right? And it gets that IP address, and you probably know IP addresses. Most people know that, right? That's the whatever dot whatever dot whatever, unless you're talking about v6, which is a big hairy long one now. So it gets that IP address, but that's just the beginning, right? So then the computer's got to be like, well, where do I go now, right? And that's an ARP request, right? So it says, okay, I got this IP address, but tell me, it's like I'm doing the network comparison. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it reminds me of like if you had a package and you're the postman and you get a package, it's got the address on it, right? And it says, I want to go to, I want to go to Rob, and then it looks up the number for Rob, ID member, ID number, whatever, right? It goes, oh, okay. Well, everybody who gets those packages for, Rob's department, it asks a question. It sends out a question. It's like, hey, I got this member ID. Where do I go? I got this IP address. Where do I go next? What specific machine gets this next. And that's an ARP address. An ARP address or machine address, which used to be static, they're not anymore. But that goes with a specific interface on a specific computer. And that is associated with an IP, but not directly. So the ARP, it says, hey, who's got this IP? And if it doesn't know, that's where the gateway answers and says, well, just send it to me and I'll deal with it. And that's what the router does, right? So it sends a packet up there and the packet's like, okay, I go here next, and it takes care of all the routing and stuff. But during that, you can actually attack a network by, it's called an ARP flood, where you can put a device on the network that, or, just hack something. It is, I know, you can put a device on the network that floods the network with answers. It says, no, I am the machine. I am the machine for all of your needs. Give me your packets. And that's a man-in-the-middle attack. And so when your kind of naive computer says, hey, who has this IP address? Everybody, I have it. And it sends it. And so it says, okay, fine. And then the computer actually, to save time, says it saves it in the ARP cache, which is, a place to save it locally. It's like, okay, all the stuff that has this IP is going to go over here. I'm going to remember that. I'll write it on my ARM. And so then it all goes to whoever it thought. And then it sends all the packets to potentially the wrong person, and it gets them. And as long as it forwards the packets onto the right thing, you'll never know. And that's the, but all of that sort of thing has to happen on a local, network segment that's got physical switch connectivity to each other. If you're on the other side of a router or the other side of a switch, no, the ARP doesn't even travel through that router or through the switch. So that request doesn't get answered by anybody else for security reasons, obviously. So when we read about it using ARP as a load balancer, that actually made a lot of sense to me. It made me very happy because the hardware versions of a load balancer, when you say, hey, I want to go to this, the hardware versions of a load balancer, which are like, hey, I want to go to this name and this IP, but behind the scenes, it ends up being 3 different machines, right? You can do that with hardware, but ARP is the other place to do this. And so this is a software solution for something that otherwise might be implemented by hardware. And it uses ARP. That's the only way it could do it, right? But that just means the hard part of this is that means that everything involved has to be on the same network segment, level 2, I think. And I mean, it's got to be on the same, the same segment. If there's any magic going on, you would need to use something that handles the resolution of that MAC address differently, or the IP address or whatever. Okay, so which is more similar to Metal LB. Okay, here we don't have BGP services. We just want to test it quickly. Okay, that was a long description, but hopefully that helps. kube-vip has many feature design options to provide higher availability or network functionality as part of VIP load balancing. Okay, cluster. kube-vip creates a multi-node or multi-module cluster to provide high availability. It's creating a cluster of control plane like static pods. That's important. It's not creating a Kubernetes cluster. The words are mixed up here. In ARP mode, a leader is elected, and this node inherits the virtual IP and becomes the leader of the local load balancing within the cluster. While in BGP mode, all nodes are notified of the VIP address. When using ARP layer 2, it will use leader election and, of course, raft cluster techniques, which is what picks one of 3. But this method has been largely superseded by leader election, especially when running in a cluster. Okay, virtual IP. So this is the magical thing that we want, right? The leader in the cluster will assign a VIP and bind it to the selected interface declared in the configuration. Democracy for bits, yes. When the leader changes, it will first revoke the VIP, and in the case of failure, the VIP will be assigned directly to the next elected leader. When a VIP is removed from one host to another, the host using the VIP will retain the previous VIP, goes to MAC address mapping until the ARP expires, typically 30 seconds. And a new VIP MAC mapping is retrieved, which can be optimized by using gratuitous ARP broadcasts. So it's basically doing the ARP thing. It's just more magical, right? Rather than saying, hey, I got you right here on this machine, it says, well, that machine could change, but not in a man-in-the-middle attack way, kind of in a deliberate way. Yeah, the man in the middle is kind of like a dictator. It says, I am there. Use me. Redirect host. This is interesting. How the pings come down. I mean, what is that command? Some weird commands. It is an ARP command. It looks like. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna get into this. I'm kind of excited about it. Using kube-vip. Let's build a highly available cluster using kube-vip, starting by preparing 6 nodes. Oh, I see. They're doing a whole entire Kubernetes cluster. I hope we don't have to put kube-vip on everything. Maybe they're going to put it on there for the metal OB replacement. How's it going? Thank you for the follow, Rush. Okay, thank you, Corrector. I was getting scared there. First installed it, I was like getting ready to pull out Ansible. 3 LV and 3 control. Yeah, I figured. All right, first install the dependencies on the host, including kubeadm, kubeadm, qtl, and container runtime, which we've done over the last 9 hours of stuff. If you want to go watch it using Ansible, get the Docker image of kube-vip and set the YAML resource manifest file of the static pod so the Kubernetes. So this is super interesting because I'm going to have to use Docker save for this, or podman save, or whatever the equivalent is, to download the actual container image to a file, which is, I understand, a real common thing on the certification exam. I haven't done it actually, so that'll be interesting. And get the Docker image of the kube-vip and set the YAML resource manifest file of the static pod and Etsy Kubernetes manifest. So dealing with Etsy Kubernetes manifests on the control planes is apparently a part of static pods. Never done it, so we'll be doing that. So the Kubernetes will automatically deploy the pod of kube-vip on each control plane node. It sounds like there's not a lot of other things to do. You just restart kubelet and it starts the pod, and then you can increase ETL to see if the pod is there, I assume. I don't know. I wonder if I could Scopio the thing into the cluster. I mean, it just has to make it into the container runtime of the control plane, right? Is there any reason I would want to have the file not just be pulled down? It just pulled the directory. Yeah. So is there any reason I can't just Scopio the thing down? This is interesting. What happens if it goes away? I mean, I have to think about this for a second, in terms of like maintenance. So, I mean, normally if you're gonna create a local image copy, you just Docker pull and you'd have the thing, right? Yeah. So hear me out. So if I do, I'm gonna use Docker terms because that's what people know. So if I do the equivalent of a Docker pull on the control plane just to get the container image for kube-vip from wherever, Docker Hub or wherever, into my local, which normally I probably wouldn't be able to do. I should still download it because that's the way to do it. Let's just about 26 years Windows and try and understand what you're doing here. Well, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, this is yeah. Well, we have a boost for that, my friends. Yeah. If you want to get going on Linux, we're not talking. We're kind of deep in the weeds here. But if you want to do something profitable in the boost space, there's lots of other streamers that do kind of cover that stuff. But I've made the boost specifically to get people started on their way to understanding all this. If you're a total sadist, you really want to do this stuff. To tell you the truth, I'm kind of excited about kube-vip. I kind of want to do it. Anyway, so let me give you that scenario. Docker pull kube-vip, right? So now it's in my local container runtime, and everything's happy. I add it to my manifest. Boom, I can use kubeadm and the rest. And I get my HA and all that. It sounds like it's going to go pretty quickly once I get that set up. However, let's say that we're doing an upgrade, or some other admin comes along and they don't know that we have kube-vip at all. And so they do the normal, administratory kind of things. There's some cleanup of the underlying, and they do a purge. So let's say they go to the underlying container engine and they just purge everything in there because the container runtime is totally hosed on the control plane or for whatever reason, and they just completely do it. And doing that is a bad thing because Kubernetes gets really, really mad when you do that. Well, what do you mean? Well, then I would have to pull it down again later, yeah? I mean, if they purge the image, I'd have to add the image back. It's not going to go pull it, right? I'd have to, my HA would stop working until I put the container back, yeah? So I'm just wondering what the risk is the static pod will pull the image. Oh, hey, Nihak. But from where? Where is it going to pull it from? My internal registry? What if my internal registry is Kubernetes? I knew this was going to be a problem with Harbor and Kubernetes. I knew it. I knew this was going to be a problem. I knew it. Because what if you got a chicken and the egg problem? How's it going? Leave it blank. So yeah, we're going to go there. I know. We're going to read that. Don't worry. So I'm asking another question here. So, I mean, I'm still going to do it, right? But, I mean, we're making a lot of assumptions here. You need a cluster to service cluster. Absolutely. So, first of all, for the sake of my cluster, I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the internet. You cannot pull containers off the internet at my place of business. They have to be pulled from our internal registry. Putting on the target cluster is a bad idea. Well, you know, I fucking said so. And we did it anyway. I was like, are you really sure you want to put your register in there? And I didn't know about static pods or kube-vip. And now I'm going to go to them and say, you know, it'd be really great if we hadn't done that, because we could have put kube-vip in here. But there's this one scenario where we all fall on our fucking faces because there's nothing to query, you know, to get our HA, because we have to, it's like a chicken and the egg thing. There is some infrastructure that people need to consider does not go into your cluster, and I would suggest that includes Harbor. I do not think you should be putting your cluster, I'm so glad we're going through this. I do not think you should be putting your registry, the biggest important piece of your whole IT infrastructure in terms of cloud native, inside of Kubernetes. Because what happens if you want to leave Kubernetes? What happens if you want to use Nomad and you want to use the clusters too? You're going to go through, I mean, you can because it's got a public interface, but a registry on the target cluster is a giant clusterfuck. Getting better, but still no good. Yeah. You know, they've already made the fucking decision to do that, and they just rushed it out. And I was like, you know what? We haven't really thought about whether this should be standalone or it should be in the cluster. And I now fully believe it should not have been in the cluster. And that's interesting, because now you have to deal with things like, well, how are you going to do high availability for your register? Well, you're going to have to build it without Kubernetes. The whole point of Kubernetes is having high availability and blah, 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 blah. So this is getting more frustrating by the minute, because this is really, really shaking up my plans for my own thing, because I know that by deploying it the way we have it at work, it's going to be fucked. You can build it with Kubernetes. It should be in a different cluster. See, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said. You should have an infrastructure cluster. Actually, no, you know what? I think we're okay. Let me think about this for a second. We have something called an infrastructure cluster. Yeah. And it is in there. Which, by the way, doesn't have load balancing at all. It doesn't have HA. Our registry is in the thing that just does round robin DNS. I kind of wish I hadn't learned any of this stuff, because then I wouldn't know how fucked up we are. We are so fucked up. Why do you think it's fine? We have a management cluster, yeah. The registry kind of needs to be HA. Doesn't it? Yeah, I wonder. Well, yeah, I mean, we're constantly pulling things out of the registry. I mean, the registry serves up stuff in our batch as well as other stuff, you know? So, yeah. I'm thinking about this for a second. You can't launch new pods for an outage and the business closed? Probably not. Right. I mean, here, okay, so the way our architecture is set up currently, and I need to figure out how to come to my team about this. The way our infrastructure is set up right now, if one of the API servers goes down for any reason, including maintenance, all that will happen is really weird shit in the logs in all the jobs that are running in Kubernetes that need to pull down an image, because half of them are going to fail. They're going to try to go get it. I mean, I trust stuff has to go through the API server to get routed, right? Maybe not. Maybe not because the services are already definitely. The data plane is separate. I was just going to say, yeah, the data plane is separate. All right, so we're good. We're good because the data plane is the one that's serving up the actual connected IPs that people are going to that are associated with virtual servers for Istio. So those IPs don't ever have to go through control plane routing for the load balancer, right? It would just be the internal stuff. I have a feeling. So the internal load balancing would cover us if we did that. Okay, or the internal whatever, right? So let me paint a scenario here. So let's say that we need to do maintenance on our infrastructure control plane, and we take one down, and we're doing DNS round robin. That's not going to affect people using the registry, including jobs running inside of the Kubernetes cluster, services and stuff. When the API server on a registry fails, basically just can't launch new processor. Yeah, but okay. So let's say we have an internal application that is using a container from the it has to do whatever it's doing. Always refresh. It's always pulling a new container. Yeah. So it's running inside. So the Kubernetes application running inside the cluster, and we're doing maintenance, and one of our control planes is down, and it tries. It can still talk to Harbor because it's actually talking to Harbor inside. Well, no, it's a separate cluster. So. But the other cluster that's over here has exposed an IP address for Harbor that's being managed by the data plane and not necessarily the control plane for the API, because that stuff, the API stuff, is only for controlling Kubernetes. It's not for actually serving up the microservices. That's all in the data plane stuff. So Harbor will continue to run even if like all like 4 of the control planes are down. So that's not going to disrupt anything that's using Harbor as long as those things are still running, because they've been started off. Once they're started off and they're running independently they've been assigned a pod and a node to run on, and perhaps the daemon set or whatever, they're running and they're up. The only thing that would be affected would be our ability to change the state of the running Harbor by having a control plane go down, right? So did I get that right? So because the control plane is just the way to control the stuff. The data plane is where everything. Okay, so that makes me feel better. So thank you so much for helping me understand. So that means I feel much better, because we do have Harbor in an infrastructure cluster that was made specifically for Elasticsearch and other things like this. And this is one of those things. We just don't have any backups yet, which is what I've been tasked with doing, is running the backup. I got to create the backup for this thing. And the reason that I'm like up late and doing all this, solidly through today, is because I need to get a Kubernetes cluster up immediately so that I can run a backup and test a restoration of it. Using kubeadm, and that's why I'm like burning the candle on both ends, because we've said that we can test our backup. We have a script that just needs to be cleaned up, and it's just a fucking shell script, a horrible shell script with 2 shebang lines. It's fucking horrible. One of the things that I wanted to do, I've been doing it last week, has been researching backup solutions. But now I realize that all of the backup solutions I want to test, I can't test because I don't have a cluster I can test them on. And so I'm like back to building a cluster, and I want to build an HA cluster, blah, blah, blah. And that's where we are. This is where we are now. Please use Valero. I've heard that Valero is a pretty good one. That's one of the ones that I heard about. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. So I will take your advice to heart. Valero is an open source tool for backup, safety, restore, perform disaster recovery, and migrate Kubernetes clusters and persistent volumes. You don't even know. Our current backup solution is a quick and dirty script. That is a quote from the kube-backup. This is. I don't want to tell you about this. We use Peter Lang's. This is what started all this shit, and this is what got me into the hot seat. Because I was like reviewing our backup strategy and stuff after the people that left that set it up, and I was like, I actually found this script, this shell script here, this piece of shit shell script, is our official backup strategy outside of etcd. So there's copying etcd, and then there's like an whole entire backup, but it literally says. I raised some eyebrows when I said this. It literally says it's a quick and dirty Kubernetes state backup script designed to be ran as Kubernetes job. Think of Rancid for Kubernetes. So this is just a backup for the backup, right? Backs up to S3 compatible object storage. Well, I have to have S3 compatible object storage, which fuck me, I don't have that. I don't have that. We got to set up object storage internally in a company. We don't have it. No, we don't. Why do you think everybody's running like crazy to? I don't know if I can do Minio. We probably should set up Minio. Is it in your cluster? Really? It's not there. No, it's not there. It probably needs to be added there, but it is not. It is not currently there. Kubernetes native object storage. Fuck. Why are we not using this? We need to install this like immediately. I'm gonna push for this like right away. I don't know why we don't have this. I mean, this is the reason we built an infrastructure cluster. Thank God. Yeah. It's just a place to store things. You can do AGPLv3. Oh. Man, that's a fucking pharaoh. That's pretty aggressive. You replaced etcd with kind plus Postgres? Really? I am not going to do that. Nope. No, I'm not doing that. And I'm trying to limit my storage too. Well, I thought, isn't Rook on top of FFS? God damn. Just when you think you got a handle on it. Yeah, Rook orchestrates the steps to the storage solution. Yep. I'm afraid we're going to have to use Rook too. That's all infrastructure cluster stuff, right? Remove etcd. I don't know. I would rather not. etcd. There is a kind of a fun thing about that though. You guys know this, right? You seen that picture? You see the picture of etcd? It is. It's constantly changing. Yep. So you just have to pick something. It's like worse than web development because it's moving faster and it has a greater impact. So, yeah. And now I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put my infrastructure cluster because the way things are going, I think I need to have a multi-cluster environment. Yep. Let me think about this for a second. I'm reevaluating my architecture because the more things are going, if I truly want to model an enterprise, I need to have at least 2 clusters. I mean, like all the time. And I want to think about this. I want to think about this. Give me a second here. Yeah, this is kind of a big deal for me. Well, the other thing too is I could put cluster API into the infrastructure cluster. I could bootstrap and then put it into that. No, I know, but look, the reason I want to think about this really quickly is because I want to make sure if I need to reserve some of my machines for the other cluster and whether I can run it all on the VMs on the 28 core machine I have. I'm trying to decide if I can run. This actually is a part of scoping the whole entire thing, right? So I don't want to spend too much time here, but I want to look at it really quickly. And one case cluster is how my company does it. Yeah. You have a storage cluster and an infrastructure cluster, and then you have the other thing, right? So here's what I have right now. So a couple racks, some tridents. The tridents have got big old stuff on them. So you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm gonna. You know what? It's funny too because I was already going to do that. I was going to put this 6. So see these lights right here, these big lights right here. There's terabyte drives on each one of them. They have a pretty slow disk, but they would probably be okay for storage. Just in order to do this. I was gonna. I mean, at least one of them. I'm just gonna make an NFS so I can get good with NFS mounts. Even though NFS is shit, I know people stop complaining. I have to do it anyway. So I have a feeling that I'm gonna go ahead and put an infrastructure cluster on all of those. And keep them separate. Rather, before I was going to put those all into a single cluster, and I'm starting to think that I want to put the Tridents in their own cluster, an own infrastructure cluster, but I don't know how I'm going to do the control plane on that, because those machines are not fast enough to run control plane. So this is why I got the optiplexes. So my primary, but I don't know how performant my infrastructure cluster needs to be. Of course it is. Yeah, I mean, I run it all the time. Yeah, right here. See? That's a customized version of it, but yeah. So I know it's a pretty big system. It's like a $30,000 machine to run ASCII Aquarium. 30 node cluster. So no, God no. We're doing actual Kubernetes. I'm not using K3s. It's irrelevant to me. Those minis down there, I have 20 minis and a Mac Pro in the back that you can't see. Mac Pro. I'm sorry, I'm just pausing right now. I know this is not fun to watch if you're on YouTube. You skip past this. I'm trying to figure out if I were to have an infrastructure cluster, what I would do and how I would have to scope it. Right now, all my plans have been based on building one big production cluster. I mean, I don't have really room for a dev cluster and a production. Actually, no, I do. So I was going to do the dev cluster stuff on the VM machine and spin up VMs really quickly, and then bring up clusters and take them down. That would, to me, that's a better dev solution than a dev cluster, because you can practice ripping up an entire cluster and bringing it up and tearing it down and blah blah blah. And I'm going to be doing that on the VM system. The system is all set up to be chopped up, and it can be chopped up into up to upwards of 16, 17 nodes, I think, with 28 with 28 cores. The way we were saying it's like a 3 gigahertz a core, I think. Somebody did the math for me when we did this last year when we were doing fluff, and I think that's about, it's roughly one VM per gigahertz, roughly. So we have about the possibility for 100-ish pods. Two can do 2 VMs. You think so? Okay. Yeah, 2 gigahertz can do 2 VMs. Right, about that. So it's really the memory's a constraint, and I have 256. I have 128 gig of RAM, I think. Do I have 128 or 256? I can't remember. I have it on here somewhere. Where am I go see? But this is a part of the scoping that you need to. Here's all the apps I need to get into. So I have MSI drives 4 cores, 8 gig RAM, terabyte drives. These numbers are wrong. I have to update those IOPS numbers. I got new IOPS numbers. I already took that, and they're down below. I need to change that. I'm gonna delete that because that's wrong. I don't know why, but I got bad IOPS numbers one day. They were like really bad. I think I was running two FIOs at the same time on accident. It's the only thing I can figure. Anyway, so here's the Z640, which I only paid $2,200 for. Can you believe that? 28 cores, 128 gigabyte RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD. How can you tell if it's SSD, by the way? I don't even think it's SSD. I think I got gypped on that part. Let me go check something. I know I'm all over the place. I don't care. HP Z640. Yeah. LSBLK. SDA1, that doesn't say. Oh, we need to do LS hardware. Super user. Okay, fine. So VI. I don't know if this is gonna have it in there. Can we look for just files? Intel stuff. i7, Core i7. How about that? Yeah, Core 7 power control unit, power control droid. GDRI. What was the one that gave us the memory? I can't remember. There's a command. I can't remember my commands. I need to write them down. We did a command to look up the disk, because we were trying to look up the disk type. It's just OEM disk hardware in the minis. But I think this will tell me. I want to see if I have SSD. How can you tell if you have SSD? It's not just SSD because it's all SATA stuff. I don't remember if I have it. I think I may have got it wrong. That's a super important thing because the IOPS on this was like 500. The IOPS was 500 on this, which is fine. That's plenty good for a control plane. So that's good if I want to like fire up, mini clusters really quickly, which I do intend to do. That's going to be a big part of what I do. But I want a main cluster that I'm managing that's on hardware, so I can practice the Pixie boot and all that other fun stuff that I want to do in the control CTL. Physical inspection would normally let you. I'd have to open the thing. I'm not opening it. I mean, another thing I do is a lot faster. I could go to the site where I bought it. How about that? Yeah, boom. There we go. Look at that price, man. Isn't that crazy? It's very noticeable. Yes, but not in the devices. Not in the devices. It is 512 gigabyte SSD. It is SSD. Good. 128 DR4. Expandable to 56. So you can black start your cluster anymore. I don't want to do that. That's one of the reasons I'm like so worried. Yeah, we're not going to put storage in there. I mean, if we put storage in there, it would be like for the backups and stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyway, so that is it. So, what I'm trying to decide is whether I should put an actual infrastructure cluster in place, or should I just permanently dedicate virtual machines to an infrastructure cluster that's running on VMs only? I mean, if I do that, it'll be faster. Put your Docker registry on rook ceph. Yeah. Whose pods pull from your registry, right? I'm not convinced that that's a good idea. It sounds like having one cluster for your registry is a big idea though, and that's. I mean, I feel like that's where my hardware should go, and I'm gonna after going through this whole static pod fiasco. There's no way I'm putting my harbor register inside of my production cluster. Not after I realize this, and I just won't be able to do it and sleep. I literally won't be able to sleep at night. Be like, no, I'm not doing that. I mean, we just said a lot of things. Struggled with realization that I need and what do you ever want to call it? Operations admin cluster. What do you guys call it? Yeah. Reminded not to put container registry harbor. I mean, registry. Is it harbor or harbor? I don't know. In prod cluster. Yeah. So, yeah. So basically, if you're not getting good with multi-cluster, you might be in trouble. Like I am. So, and I didn't anticipate that. So imagine I'm a company and I didn't anticipate running two clusters and I didn't get this stuff right. You know. I mean, I bought the Optiplexes with the 3. I mean, I'm like totally golden for the production clusters performance and everything. But I'm trying to decide where the control plane would be for my infrastructure cluster. Because the other machines are not as fast, right? So I'm actually seriously thinking of keeping back 3 of the minis, which have faster IOPS. Let me go mini 1. I just have to test this really quick. FIO. I have an FIO over here, so I can just run it really quick. To manage a storage cluster, but that takes some money. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So yeah, this is got 84, 86 IOPS. I don't know that we have to have really intense disk speed for the infrastructure cluster, unless you call it. But you guys are calling it a storage cluster, which I think is a different thing. And hell yeah, that needs to have really fast disk, right? It's almost like I need to build another cluster out of optiplexes with SSD. With like they have 256 gigabyte SSD. I should put a few of those together and get like, or I can just use NFS on a plain old NFS and use that as a storage class and be done with it. Which is I'm also going to do that. I don't care how slow that is because in fact I want my NFS stuff to be slow because I want to deal with latency. I want to be scolded for putting things that depend on NFS into my applications because I shouldn't be. I should be using local storage class for that kind of thing. 89. This is ridiculous. So, and your solution going to need not a very big one, but we don't know the total volume of deployments. This is just a simulation anyway. So it's a Homelab. So I'm simulating what I would be doing if I were running a small a machine learning think tank that's funded by charities and run by machine learning people. I'm simulating that. It's like what would I build for that type of less than 100 employees kind of company that needs a relatively good big machine learning cluster or infrastructure for machine learning. And that, by the way, includes PBS, or open PBS, which is completely outside of the scope of all of this and does use containers. So that's a completely different thing. Lesser. I mean, we weren't going to get into storage solutions. This has been a diversion from getting my first cluster up, but it all came about because why? Because Cube, I can't get that one answer. We're going through. We're setting up KubeVirt, not Cube. I keep saying that. It's not what it is. We're setting up what do I want to say? We're setting up kube-vip. Yeah. Thank you for the reminder. So, and I mean, okay, so the reason this all came about was because just go get the container. And so I asked the question, what happens if the container goes away? Right? What happens if somebody fucks up the container and the thing? I mean, and I still don't have an answer to that. You're saying that it's going to survive it because it's going to pull another one. Well, that's because why? Because it's going to be tied to something that's going to be pulling off the internet in my case. Right? Because, I mean, it's a pod, so I assume it's going to have all the policy controls like, what is it? Pull if it needs a new one? What's the policy for a pod? I forget the policy name. The exact letters of the policy. There's one of the container policies is always get a new one. One of them is get a new one if it's not there. And I imagine that because it's running even as a static pod, that stuff's still going to apply. It's going to say, hey, go get me one. And it's going to go look at whatever the kubeless design, whatever the registry is for the kubelet. I imagine that's based on IP. That's based on container address, telling you to pull the Docker image and create a static pod manifest, nothing more. Yeah, but see, pulling the Docker image is something that I'm pretending that I can't do because I don't have internet access. Because I don't at work. I don't. Always, yeah. Ouch. In my place of business, I have to do Scopio to get the thing down, and then I have to put it in the cluster. Now, obviously, I can't do that. So you put it on Harbor and call it a day, if at work. I mean, we already hit this problem before when we were pulling just images off apt. Oh, sorry for the ads. We're only pulling, All right, so I know what to do. I'm thinking about the day 2 problem because guess what? No one else is. And, yeah, I can get a cluster up right away. Great. I can pull from Docker and pull off the internet. What happens when my pretend IT shop decides to shut their walls? Now, we decided not to do that, right? We decided in our pretend company here that we're doing zero trust architecture, and we're actually going to allow outbound internet access to everybody, no matter where you are, including from the cluster. That makes certain people like really uncomfortable, and they are like, "Oh my God, I'm not doing that." So we already made a pretend, CTO decision in our scenario here that says that we can do that, which means that dependency on an external Docker hub is okay for this and for future references. But as soon as I get my infrastructure cluster set up, and we still have a chicken and the egg scenario, right? Because somebody's going to have to fucking pull this container. I mean, it's either that or I pull down a container and do the save, do Docker save, and then put that, and then I go into my thing, I take that saved image and I load the image directly, which I'm going to actually try. Listen to my keywords. Yeah, I know. It was, well, let's say architects then. CTOs are a different breed. Yeah, the Terry Colbys of the world. So I know everybody just wants me to do this and move on. I'm sorry. That's not how I operate. I am going to actually pull the image for kube-vip and stick it in a file. So, and I don't want to use Docker for this if I can help it. I want to use, Scopio or something. And I don't actually have any of those tools with me right now, so I'm gonna have to go get into those. Or you can run to separate VMs or with registry and call them priority in a second. Yeah. To manipulate, inspecting, signing, and transfer container images and image reports and that kind of stuff. So this is another reason I'm not interested in the CKA exam, because it doesn't have anything about Scopio on it at all. Apparently you have to do like Docker save to get an image. And somebody said, and I'm like, oh really? Because I would never do that in the wild. In fact, I don't know how to do it. Docker. All right, so Docker pull. I just to practice this kube-vip. And there is no one. There is no kube-vip. Processor does not exist, or maybe Docker login. Oh, I haven't do Docker login. Is that actual Docker or Podman? I'm confused why you just don't Docker pull. Number one, I don't have Docker in my enterprise. I'm trying to simulate what I would do in the enterprise. I don't have Docker, period. And we can't use it. We're not allowed to use it. So it would have to be Podman or some equivalent. And number two, I don't have outbound access to the internet to get the image. Right? All of our images are internal, and then we have all our images are external. And we have to go through a process to bring them in, and Scopio is the thing to do that. We actually have to download images, get them approved, and then move them into the container registry internally. That is like, and I'm not the only one. So Porsche's not here right now, Porsche filth, but they would tell you their process is even more anal than ours. I mean, they work for an investment bank. Can't use any container name implied. You don't have Docker CLI. No, we don't. No, we don't have container D. Nope. It is a set similar to Artifactory. Yeah, kind of. So we can't just, pull stuff. And this is not just, my broken company. This is a lot of companies. They do not have public access to just put containers into the Kubernetes cluster. It's considered a major security violation. So we actually have OPA policies in place for mission controllers that block that shit. Hey, Brazil. So, there's got to be an alternative. It's got to be a two-step process. And if I'm going to emulate, now in my pretend company, we actually have internet access. We already decided that rather than setting up our own app mirror, which I also did, which is fine. Public access. I'm talking about command line tool. No, we also don't have that. No. No. No, it's banished. It's not even on our login boxes. In order to get Docker to run, we'd have to go onto one of our master control plane nodes, which has Docker C install, which has Docker, which by the way is going to go away when we move to Creo. So then we're going to be doing crictl and stuff, and we're going to be using Scopio and Builda and all that other stuff. So we don't have the Docker command, period. And that's one of the reasons I'm pausing here. I've installed Docker here, of course. In fact, I don't even think it's actually Docker. I guess, is it Docker version? Yeah, this is Docker. This is actual Docker. Yeah, this is an actual Docker install. But that's just because of my own personal system. We can't even put Docker on our desktops. We can't put it on our laptops. We can't put it on our jump machines. We can't put it on anything. So, and I'm not the only company that has that policy. We'll do this tomorrow during the day. No, you can't. Docker is shit for lots of reasons. And if I have to explain that, I'm sorry. You know, there are a million reasons enterprises hate it. So I don't even want to go there. It's a waste of time. Okay. So I am going to work out a way to get the image. Podman, I know that's what I'm saying. I think we can do it with Podman. That's what I want to try. So, again, Podman pulling externally from the external cluster or not. I don't even think I have Podman on the control planes. We have CRI CTL, which is a different thing. And I mean, what you're suggesting is that there's got to be extra tooling installed on the control planes in order to pull the static pod stuff. And I have to make a decision here. Do I install some container runtime, not runtime, tooling? I don't, what's the word here? It already has runc, so it has a runtime, but it only has a runtime. Did I get that right? It's like a web repository container daemon on a server, not elsewhere. No, we have container runtime, but that's different. Yeah, because they don't want people to run. I don't know. It's not just here though. That's pretty common. So, I mean, okay. So let me backtrack a little bit. So in order to do a static pod, I have to be able to use a Docker-like command on the control planes in order to pull that image down onto the system, independent from anything else. So what I want to know is, can I do that with crictl? Does that have a possibility? I don't think it does. If I can, then I don't need Docker, right? So I'm trying to avoid installing additional software on my control planes if I can get away with what was already installed, because I use Creo and Creo has crictl or whatever. I mean, if I have to put, I mean, it's already got, Scopium build and stuff built in it. Adding Podman to the control planes is probably okay. I just don't want to do it if I don't have to. Because I mean, it's already all that. It's all the Creo stuff. It's basically just Docker with a different name. I don't fully agree, but yeah. So let's do crictl, pull an image from registry. Okay. So the bottom line, I don't have to install anything, right? So crictl, and then I could say, and then we just need to pull. I don't think we've logged into Docker Hub, so we can't pull a registry from there. I don't even know if it has the ability to log in. That's kind of interesting. VIP. Yeah, Christian died. If I run craft socket permission, I have to do this. That's another thing, is this thing has to be run as root because reasons. Oh, that's the one? Oh, awesome. Awesome. Was that in the documentation that you sent me already that I'm not reading? That I should be reading. Okay, I hear what you're saying. It says first install the dependencies of those including Kubernetes. There's the pull right there. Okay, there it is. Why is it doing CTR? What's CTR? What is CTR? Which CTR? I never seen that. They're using something that I don't know about. I wonder if that's a control. What is? Huh. It's a container image pull. Should run. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but that's definitely the stuff I need to do. All right, so this is pulling it from Docker, but you can pull it without pulling it from Docker. There's no alternative to Docker listed here. It's for containerd. I was going to guess containerd. Yeah, I was going to guess containerd. Okay, so we've lost a bunch of people here. They're like, what the hell? What's all these containers? We spent like 4 hours just on picking a container runtime and the tools that go with the container runtime. So revisit. Yeah, I know. I see that. And that's actually just an ad this is just it's a 2001, which is only a year old, but container runtimes in order to pull kube-vip static pod image. Yep. And so I had to go through that. You said you had a more recent updated 5% we were saying if you should keep speeder. Thank you, Bill. Korea is fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the official kubeATI. That was just gonna say. There we go. Same steps, just more current. And I mean, we all know that this is like the bane of our existence. Is getting the right docs in this world is seriously, it's like fucking insane. And okay, I'm just gonna finish reading this just to get an overview of it, and then we'll come back to the real docs. I want to see if there's anything in this document that offers insight that's outside of the standard docs. Next, you configure kubeadm. Okay, we'll do that. I mean, init kubelet, etc. This stuff. And then install the CNI, Cilium. They're doing Cilium instead of Calico. I'm using Calico, so that is another reason to not do that. We'll do the regular Kubernetes join. You see the control. Wow, that's not even the right command line anymore. Where's the endpoint thing? They didn't even put the endpoint thing in there. Yeah, I feel like I want to discard this tutorial. Yes, I do. I definitely do. Like you're gone. I don't even want to refer to you anymore. I mean, it did a good job of explaining via the HA VIP stuff, so that was good. But the actual steps are like fucking ancient and using bad decisions, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with this next one. Just when you thought it was safe to come out in the water until cluster is up. I know that. Thank you. That part I actually knew. Yes, I did. Uh-huh. Yes, I've done that before. I've done the CNI setup before. It's not that hard once it's up. Yeah, but this whole HA stuff is totally new to me. So, I'm going to go with that. So, links, we'll go to that. Okay, K3S, kube-vip, static pods or Kubernetes. All right, so this is the official docs and the official way to how to get going. Static pods are Kubernetes pods that run on kubelet on a single node, not managed by cluster itself. This means, which blew my mind first time I heard about it, which was today. This means that whilst the pod can appear with Kubernetes, it makes use of a variety of functions, config map resources. Oh, interesting. Such as Kubernetes tokens or config map resources. It's still, because it's a pod, it still has access to the Kubernetes API though. Ah, that makes sense. I have a few things are like connecting in my brain as to why they chose that static pod. A static pod might be disconnected from management by Kubernetes, but it still has access to all the awesome shit in Kubernetes. So that means it can go use core DNS probably, and it can probably go get config maps, setting secrets, and all that jazz. It cannot use config maps? It can't. I always miss can't. It can't make use of a variety of Kubernetes functions. What? Well, I guess I got that wrong. A static pod approach is primarily required for kubeadm as is due to secrets. Well, what the hell? Why don't they just call it a container? Because that's what it is. It's like a lone container running on an endpoint. The end. It's not a fucking pod. Okay, fine. Ideally, we want kube-vip to be a part of a Kubernetes cluster, but for various bits, it's a managed container. So the kubelet is in control of it, therefore it's a pod. Okay, fine. It gives it an IP or whatever. Yeah, all right, fine. Fine. I get it. I'm glad I clarified that. I was getting ready to get all excited. Ideally, we want kube-vip to be part of Kubernetes cluster, but for various bits of functionality, we also need kube-vip to provide HA virtual IP as a part of the installation. That's the main reason for doing this. The sequence of events for building a highly available Kubernetes cluster with kubeadm and kube-vip are as follows. Generate a kube-vip manifest in the static pods manifest directory. See generating a manifest section below. Run kubeadm init with the control plane endpoint. That's the reason we're doing this, above all, to get the VIP. And we're going to use our own host entry. We're going to use hosts. In my particular case, I'm pretending I have a DNS. I don't. and we're going to use host entries, but we're going to, as far as our Kubernetes setup is concerned, we're going to use domain names whenever we can. DNS names. So the kubelet will parse and execute all manifests, including the kube-vip manifest generated in one step on the other control planes. Okay. kube-vip starts and advertises the VIP address. Awesome. The kubelet on the first control plane will connect to the VIP advertised in the previous step. Flag using the VIP address. Yes. Okay. I hate to admit that I just figured out the VIP stands for virtual IP and not very important protocol. It's a virtual IP. I don't know why I didn't see that before. The V stands for virtual. I thought that it was some sort of VIP protocol or something going on. I'm really stupid. Okay, so kubeadm init finishes successfully on the first control plane. Using the output from the kubeadm init command on the first control plane, run the all kube-vip is doing is giving you a virtual IP. The end. And it's using a static pod to do that. Okay, I finally got it. I just haven't made it yet. So using the output from the kubeadm init command. Yeah, we've been around a while. That's why I'm tired. And, you know, I also have Twitch brain because I'm talking. My vocal cords are done. Using the output from the kubeadm init command, the first control plane, plus the run join. And I know how to join that stuff. I've done that before. Copy generated kube-vip manifest or many control planes. Yeah, that's not hard. You can do that with Ansible or just copy whatever. That's not hard. I know how to do that stuff. All right. So again, the main point of this is this control plane endpoint, the virtual IP. That's what we want, which is going to have a domain name. kube-vip has HA load balancer or both. We just want HA. I don't want it as a load balancer type. Grabs whiskey. The functionality of kube-vip depends on the flags used to create the static pod itself. By passing control plane, we instruct kube-vip to provide the advertised virtual IP to be used by the control plane. By passing in services, we tell kube-vip to provide local load balancing. I don't want services. I just want control plane. Okay, this is good. So control plane argument good, services bad for now. We tell kube-vip to provide local balancing. Watch me when I get to the metal B step, when I'm starting to do load balancing and internal cluster, I'm going to be mad at myself for doing that. And then I'm going to probably want to do the dash services as well. We tell kube-vip to provide load balancing for Kubernetes service resources created inside the cluster. With both enabled, kube-vip will manage a virtual IP address that is passed through its configuration for a highly available Kubernetes cluster. It will also watch services of type load balancer, and once their spec load balancer IP, which, by the way, if you've done services in Kubernetes, they're a pain in the ass to understand, is updated typically by a cloud controller, including optionally one provided by Kube on-prem scenarios. It will advertise this address using BGP ARP. And this example, we use both when generating the manifest. You know what? Why not? I mean, is there a reason I should use MetalOB instead? I mean, other than the fact that that's what we use at work. I imagine there's overlap between MetalOB and dash services. And we use MetalOB at work, but we don't have to have that. If I'm killing two birds with one stone, which is what I like to do here. I hate that metaphor, by the way. What the fuck did we say that? I wish I had a better one. So we use both when generating the manifest. In order to create an easier experience of consuming the various functionality with kube-vip, we can use the kube-vip container itself to generate our static pod manifest. Getting two birds stone at once. We do this by running the kube-vip image as a container and passing in various flags for the capabilities we want to enable. Yeah. I mean, that's not... Okay, I get that. MetalOB typically relies on ARP, by the way. Yeah. Which... So you're saying that kube-vip supports ARP and BGP if you have it. Which we don't. I don't believe I have it. I know my work doesn't have it. And I know they're MetalOB all the way. So... I guess the question I have is... When it comes time to do that stuff... MetalOB does that? Huh. Yeah. I'm making a decision here. I'm almost convinced that I want to use kube-vip. I'm also... I mean, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I want to build a case for justifying use of kube-vip for our infrastructure cluster and our dev cluster at work. In which case we can get rid of middle B. We don't have to deploy that in there at all. We can just use kube-vip period and set up our own control planes. That way we can actually have a system that's not going to go down because the DNS is down. Or at least the control. That one realization I made earlier tonight made me feel much better. That the services inside of Kubernetes being managed are going to continue to run even if your control plane falls on its fucking face. You could have no control plane whatsoever, and as long as stuff is running internally and answering questions and stuff, for the most part, you're going to be fine. So, yeah, that made me feel better. You just have to get to it another way, right? It's just you lost your brain for a second. Unless you turn etcd off, and that's a totally different deal. If etcd is not even running, then, I mean, even then, etcd doesn't need to be around for Harbor to keep running. I don't think it does. It doesn't, actually. All right, so anyway, expected load balancer IP is updated, typically by the cloud controller, including optional animal provider. Metal OB, in case you're wondering, fulfills the cloud controller role, which usually has to have an infrastructure provider. And so if you're on-prem, those are things you got to provide that Ansible or Google or whoever would provide for you. And it looks like kube-vip would do that. In this example, we both use both to generate the manifest. In order to create an easier experience of consuming the various functionality within kube-vip, we can use the kube-vip container itself to generate our static pod manifest. Cool. Did I say Ansible? I'm sorry. We do this by running the kube-vip image as a container and passing various flags. So they leverage containers to even generate the manifest, which is fine. So we just have to go get it. We're going to do a crictl pull from wherever, assuming I don't have to log into fucking Docker Hub, and then the rest is history. So I'm reading through the docs first. Second configuration details, we use environment variables to predefine the values of inputs. And we had a big debate earlier today at work as well about whether environment variables are safe to put passwords in. And there's still no decision on that. Hey, thank you, programador. Set the VIP address to be used for the control plane. That's exporting the VIP by address. I figure can you put the name there? I assume you can. Just put them in a file. No, there's been huge debate about that. Some people even say files are not as safe. Really safe for passwords. Good question. I don't know. We never came to any answer on that. The thing that I still don't have an answer with is, can people see environment variables? And I remember being able to do that. And so far, all the testing today, you can't. Arguments, absolutely. You can be root and run a command, and every argument for every command that was started as root is visible to anybody on the machine. So you use -- password, you're an idiot. Root access. People say it all the time, but I don't agree with that. As a security person, I don't agree with that. You got rooted, so over. Game over. Game over, man. Yeah, I still don't think you should do it. Because little things like dumping environment variables on accident while you're just listing your environment in front of some random contractor or stranger. I mean, there's a million reasons not to do that. If it's a file, you're less likely to do that, in my opinion. A different UID can't see another UID's process environment. I'm not convinced of that. That has been the results of all of our testing so far. And based on the fact that proc/whatever/environment, yeah, don't use environment variables. Yeah. So this is interesting because so far you can't. So far, every test we've ever conducted, if you start something as root or even another user cannot see the environment of the running process, period. But we have yet to confirm that fully on all OSs. If you have access to proc, game over. Yeah, but access to proc for processes that are started to root, the RWX perms on it are read only for the proc environment. And the PS command, as far as we know, uses that. We were thinking the PS command might be running set UID root, which would be totally fucking stupid. but it doesn't. So it actually, so, and if you look at arg line in proc, it is visible. It's visible to everybody, no matter who started it. It was that people fucking cross control all the time. I agree. Yeah, I know, and that's one of the reasons I don't like it. So, but it's still there's even the Stack Exchange discussions on it are stuff. There is no consensus about putting secrets in environment variables. There is no consensus. There's people adamant on both sides of the fence on this, and I find it fascinating because I never ever put anything in environment variables that's secure, and I'm regularly seeing people doing it at work and elsewhere in the DevOps world usually, because Docker does it all the time, and I'm like, why the fuck are you doing this? And they're like, because it's the easiest way. And I'm like, it's totally insecure. And they're like, prove it. I'm like, well, so, and and then there's people that actually think it's less secure putting it in a file. Look, it's a different topic. I don't want to get in it, but there. Set the interface name to the name of the interface, the control plane, export, make environments and prefab inputs. Get the latest version of kube-vip, release and parse it from GitHub API. What? By parsing GitHub API, this step requires a JQ and curl. Yeah, I know how to do that. That is kind of weird, but oh well. To set manually instead of the desired tag release. And Kubernetes, even if you deny user access to secret sources, they can still obtain a secret. Absolutely. I know. It's another thing that scares me about Kubernetes is, the more complex the thing, the less secure it is, hands down. There's like a million reasons to get the secrets. A million ways, actually. Yeah. Depending on your version, especially 121. Which is why we're supposed to get the fuck off of it. The secrets end up in argv? Are you fucking kidding me? Who is putting shit in argv? Is Kubernetes putting shit in argv? Who the fuck made that decision? Who the fuck made that decision? Oh my god. They all think that they're safe because it's contained in a container. Okay, where's the vodka or whatever? What time is it? It's like, I have to calm down. It's a great time to be a hacker. That's all I got to say. If for no other reason, I'm learning all this stuff so I can hack the shit out of everybody else. I don't know. Somebody said secrets are in argv. I think you were talking about passwords. Maybe I misunderstood. Please, I thought for a second. Please tell me I'm wrong. I thought somebody said that Kubernetes itself was transferring secrets over argv to pods or something. And that's not my understanding. And I thought maybe there's something I don't. There it says right there, secrets wind up in argv, which is 444. I think what you mean is that people have coded bad containers to put secrets in argv. Right? Okay, that's different. That's idiots. That's not Kubernetes. Thank God. That's stupid fuckers who should be fired on the spot. Putting shit into arguments on the command line. I don't give a shit if it's a container. If you're doing that and you're going to try to justify putting passwords in plain text in arguments in a container, I don't give a fuck who you are. That is so fireable. I'm sorry. I'm getting kind of spun up about that. That is so fucking stupid. I just can't even deal. I can't even deal with how stupid that is. I have to get a drink. Okay, life is good. That gets me all on the zero trust thing. If we have zero trust, we don't have passwords. We have certificates for everything. Yeah, I don't want to. Passwords are just security theater for the most part. Yep, I agree. All right, so back to what I was doing. Unfortunately, this is all going on YouTube. I'm going to put a big safety thing on YouTube that says portions of this video are not suitable for work, but most is. But understandably, the title is Installing Kubernetes. Certificates are just long passwords. They are. They really are. They're much harder to guess and memorize. Sure, CPUs is what Intel SUs exist. Yes, exactly. Or just files. Yes, they are. They are. It's all passwords. All right. So okay, we're continuing our nice and calm. Okay. Export of private secret keys. Where it's at. Yeah. We can't escape it. Yep. Tokens. You know, physical. Oh, and the input values are now set. Calm. Yes, calm. We can pull and run the kube-vip. Look, I'm going to die from all the stress if I don't calm down. Here lies Rob. One too many times he got mad instead of busy. No, seriously, I want that on my tombstone. I can clip that. I want that on my tombstone. Got mad instead of busy one too many times. That's what I want on my tombstone. Got mad instead of busy one too many times. Because that's, you know, that's my mantra. Don't get mad, get busy. God knows I get tons of mad. So once got busy in a bathroom. I told you we're not suitable for work. It's after dark. But I'm still making a YouTube video of this. People are going to either laugh me or hate me or love me. I don't know. We'll see. But just don't play it. Don't play this to your kids and to your, you know, whatever, your Mormon compatriots and or your whatever, people that don't like swear words and discussion of bathroom graffiti and Kubernetes in general. Do what you like. Yeah. Believe it or not, I'm learning things. Creating the manifest. With the input values not set, we can now pull and run the kube-vip image supplied with the desired flags. Once the static pod manifest is generated under desired method, ARP or BGB, we're going to use ARP. If running multiple control plane nodes, ensure it's placed in the control plane static manifest file. That part I got. The rest of the part's kind of downhill. So getting the thing, hey, look, or for containerd, run the below command. For Docker, use this. No. Yeah, we're going to do Creo. Kreger, you said Creo was okay. Are you a containerd person or Creo? I'm just curious. What's your vote? If you had to pick a container runtime these days and you're setting up a brand new cluster from scratch, what would you do? Containerd or Creo? I trust you're not doing Docker C. That's kind of gone, right? So probably Creo. All right. Well, I'm just taking a poll here. You don't really care. Most people don't. I'm just wondering if you had opinions on that. I mean, I ask everybody this, so that's why I'm asking. We're still using Docker with a shim. Don't get me started. Okay. With the input values now set, we can pull and run a kube-vip image supplied with the desired flags and values. Let's take a poll here. Once the static pod manifest, you guys are, it's after dark. People get crazy after dark here, including me. If multiple control plane nodes, ensure it's placed in each control plane static manifest. We did that already, Rob. All right, so we just have to do our Docker command, ARP with the input. I'm just overreading the stuff, and then go to kube-vip manifest. So you can actually use kube-vip, which is probably a command that calls into the container, and it makes us a nice happy manifest file. Which then can run our static pod, I assume. Manifest kube-vip YAML, so that gets pulled up for that. Extract the containerd out of the KOS make file and run Creo. Really? Interesting. Inspector, I'd like to see that at some point. Show me your Creo. Example art manifest. Kind pod. Where's the static annotation? Is that get added by the kubelet? It must. It's got to get added by the kubelet. I kind of want to get it running so I can see what an annotation looks like, just so I can tell when something's static or not. But you know, you gotta have a cluster for that. Or do you? God, I could run a kind cluster really quick and do that. No, rabbit hole. BGP, no, we're not doing that. We're doing an ARP one. Example, ARP manifest, no. Good old YAML. Daemon set, or you can run it as a daemon set, which is cool. I have a feeling daemon set's going to be. I mean, how would you even do that? I'm assuming you would have an admin cluster, and you would run a daemon set for kube-vip in the admin cluster, but you'd have to bootstrap the cluster itself. I mean, it's that whole chicken and the egg thing, right? Versus a static. I mean, this is the whole reason static pods exist, and they're not going anywhere according to y'all. Are static pods going away? Are static pods going away? Kubernetes. Creating static pods. Well, it has an official document on it, so I assume that's a no. So since static pods are not dependent on the Kubernetes control plane, know about that. Don't need to read about it. You can use static pods to deploy a control plane component itself as a pods on a node. If you are in Kubernetes world, static pods are a kind of pod that's not observable or managed via API. How did I miss all of this for the last 2 years? I feel so gappy at the moment. I missed static pods. I've been doing Kubernetes administration off and on for like 2 years. I've been doing a lot of other stuff. But for some reason, I missed static pods this whole entire fucking time. So, yeah, anyway. Apparently, there's no signs of them diminishing. I mean, of course, the internet's all old. So having hits on the internet and Google does not mean that it's not going anywhere. There was this sentiment was expressed today that static pods are unliked and potentially unwanted by the powers that be over in Kubernetes land because they're problematic. But the consensus at the end of this afternoon's conversation was that they're not going anywhere. And I'm just trying to find some backup for that. What's the difference between pods and if a static pod crashes, kubelet restarts them? Really? Control plane is not involved in the lifecycle static pod. What the fuck? Not even the lifecycle? Man, I would never have guessed that at all. Static pods are created and rendered by the kubelet daemon on a specific node without API server observing them. If a static pod, thank you for the follow. Marmaladed. What a crazy name. If the static pod crashes, kubelet restarts them. Control plane is not involved in the lifecycle of a kubelet static pod. Add this to my docs. I actually need zet edit static pod. Zet edit static. I need notes on static pods. No. All right. Zet create static Kubernetes. I need to get my head around them. So I'm doing my own little learning method here. So I want to put my things in here. I'm going to take this out here. I'm going to put this in here. And I'm going to join those up and make it pretty. This is my notepad here. Y'all are probably tired of me reading about static pods, but I'm not. So there. So Kubernetes also tries to create a mirror pod. We talked about the mirror pods on Kubernetes API server. So when you get pods, you see something. The mirror object in static pod is also listed. You almost never need to deal with static pods. Unless you want high availability in your cluster, which should be everybody. Both HA Proxy and kube-vip do it, but maybe you're using F5 in some sort of, DNS load balancer and you don't need it. So, but if you're a poor person, then you need it. For example, kubeadm uses static pods to bring Kubernetes control plane components like API server, control plane manager, and static pods. What? Wait. API server and control manager on running under the kubelet are static pods. Oh my God, this is so interesting to me. I've been wanting to know because, if you go through Kelsey Hightower's Hard's Way, it has you like start up all these independent services on the endpoints without having any kubelet management. So they talk about, there's like, if you look at the components for Kubernetes, look, I'm going to show you. I know you don't want me to show you. I'm going to show you anyway. Right part for control plane isn't up. I don't know. That's why I was asking. I had no idea. That's why this is super interesting to me. This is why I'm deep diving. If you go into Kubernetes and you look for components, right? So this is very confusing to beginners. First time I saw this diagram, which is completely obtuse because it doesn't even have a container runtime engine. It's like, hey, this is the central thing for understanding how Kubernetes works, right? This document right here, you need to go to this document and fucking memorize it. This is how it works, right? And if you're doing on-prem, you need to replace some of these yourself. I said, I don't know. I honestly didn't know. I was like, what do you mean the kubelet is running? So, okay, so let me tell you why this is the thing. So if you go to the Hightower thing, it actually, and this is why I think everybody should stay the fuck away from the Hightower tutorial. It will fuck you up because it actually has you install all these things without doing them without static pods at all. It has you start them all independently, really old way. And so you're starting up services and everything like that. And that has nothing to do with modern Kubernetes. And in fact, so much so right here, you look at this node, see, it looks like it has two things running here. It doesn't. It has one thing running. It has a kubelet. It says, okay, I have a node and I have a kubelet and a HA Proxy. That seems to be two independent processes that are running on the system. That is not true. And it doesn't say anything about that. But the HA Proxy, the kube proxy, which would be on a test if you're going to take it, is running inside of the kubelet as a pod. And now I understand it's probably a static pod. Managed Kubernetes are done. System team. Yeah. So this is very misleading to a beginner. By the way, there's another big piece they're missing off of each node, and that's container runtime. Look, in order to be a node, you have to have three things on there according to them, component-wise. You have to have the kubelet, the kube proxy, which does all the communication, and a container runtime, and they all talk to each other. Now, when it comes time to install shit, it's a completely different list. You need kubectl, you need kubeadm, and you need kubelet, and you need crictl, or a container runtime of some kind, which usually comes with its own command for dealing with it, which is what crictl is. Okay, so those are the things you're actually installing. So when you look at the component diagram as an admin, you're like, oh, hey, here's the shit I have to install. It doesn't tell you anywhere in this entire document, as far as I remember, that, and then you have CNI. Yeah, the CNI comes later though, right? The managed servers are not necessarily for all modern practices. No. So the point I'm trying to make is that this is very misleading to a beginner. A beginner comes in here and they're like, oh, hey, what's this shit I have to install? That's really all they care about. They don't care about what is running architecturally yet. They just like, show me what I need to install. And it's a different list. And they also don't tell you that all of this control plane, first of all, they don't tell you that the control plane is actually both the name of a machine and a group of machines. And it's just this mysterious control plane. What the fuck is that? It's the control plane is either it's one machine. And by the way, is there a kubectl over there? Is there a kubeadm over here? Is there, are there container runtimes on every one of the control planes? Yes. The thing that they don't expressly say, which annoys the shit out of me, is that a control plane is just another node. It's just another machine that happens to have extra pieces that are running on it. Namely etcd, which by default these days is also a pod, which runs inside of the Kubernetes infrastructure, We're not going to do it that way. We're going to core DNS, same thing. Runs inside of a pod, inside of all this. Now, you can run it separately, which is why they're so nebulous in their instructions, but it really kind of upsets me because it's very frustrating to get your head around it. Well, Kubernetes doesn't say it has to be anything. It can be anything it wants to be. I say, well, tell me what the fuck it actually is for most people. They don't like putting their foot down there. They don't like that. Also has anti-affinity policy, yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff there that's not even gone over. All right, calming down again. So, because it's not completely apparent to anybody who's doing this stuff how to do this. This entire stuff needs to be revamped. And by the way, that's the book I'm going to write. If I ever actually get to writing a book, it's going to be the gap filling in, how to get, a cluster running based on this scale and this scope with these opinionated selections of technology. And I'll justify every one of those selections. And then people will be able to make their own. I'll have a big old pretty flowchart. I want to make that. You wrote that book? You wrote that. Are you one of the ones that wrote the other book that's like kind of out of date now? All books are out of date on this topic. So, yeah. So, I mean, there are a few books out there that are good about that. So it's good. It's good that people are writing books about that. And I mean, but decision about whether to use Creo versus whatever, right? Make a bare metal case live ISOCD. Well, I mean, honestly, I want to get it so that it can all be deployed with Ansible. Period. A full bare metal or a full VM or thing like that. We need to do that. I mean, there's already stuff that does that. KubeSpray claims to do that. KubeSpray uses kubeadm. Actually, KubeSpray is listed as one of the primary ways to get a cluster up. But it uses all the defaults, and I don't know that anybody always wants the defaults. That's why a book is so hard, because you have to assume certain things. Anyway, so let's do that. Let's do. We have the control plane components. Anyway, KubeSpray and pray. No, I'm so glad you said that. That's somewhat validating, because I was like, I know, hell no. It's like KubeSpray is Ansible using kubeadm. So why not just use kubeadm? Or now that we know about it, more strong things like potentially like cluster API or something like that. All right. So static pods are pods created in Mangle kubelet daemon on a specific node. You almost never have to deal with static pods. I'm just reading about this. Static pods are usually used by software bootstrapping Kubernetes itself. For example, kubeadm brings up the kubelet, which then does everything else, right? That's enough for me on static pods. I just wanted to start a note on that, since that's new information for me today. You also wrote Ansible that calls kubeadm. That's not KubeSpray. Yeah, well, that's what I'm planning on. That's what I was planning on doing, actually. I do want to encapsulate a lot of this stuff in Ansible before I move on to more advanced methods like using the API. Cluster API, which I actually am intrigued by that. So I am looking forward to that. There's no way they're going to go for that in our next upgrade, though. I kind of wish they would. Very old repo for this. Yes. A lot of people do. And I like comparing notes, but I like suffering through it as well because I learn it better. That's just something I do. I generate a manifest. Okay, well, that's easy enough. We read all this, so I don't need to go through this again. kube-vip control image pull. We're going to continue to run that command below. Depending on the container runtime, use one of the two alias commands for kube-vip. There's the actual. This is where you got the domain, the container address, right? Is kube-vip tied to a specific Kubernetes version? I assume not. I hope not. But it is a pod, so anything else in here? I think this is pretty much it. I think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to actually do something here. We went through this whole doc already. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, but read the doc before you do it. So yeah, I think we just have to pull the image. We have to generate the manifest using the container image, and then we have to take the output information and use that in our kubeadm commands. That seems relatively simple. But I want to kind of understand the process before we do it. Okay, so yeah, there's our join and everything. So this is the overview of the steps. This is what we're following. Okay, so we need to do the poll. And that means I got to translate this command right here. And just set the environment variables. Set configuration deals. We use environment variables and predefined values on the inputs supplied to kubectl. I mean, I guess we're picking an IP too. So that means we're defining a static IP in the infrastructure, which is, I'm glad I didn't use DHCP range reserved. It is pretty great. I'm glad somebody told me about it. Specifically Kreger this time. Versus HA Proxy. Porsche is using HA Proxy in the wild, which is what all the documentation is about. And so we're gonna try it. Yeah, thank you for being here, by the way, roasted function. We're helping each other out here, suffer through this. So let's do this. Let's say I'm trying to decide whether I want to put this little task right here in an Ansible thing, or if I want to just write a little script. I'm going to do these steps by hand for now on control 1, just for the sake of getting it down, and then eventually we'll automate it, because I'll need to do them on... Actually, I don't need to do them on a lot of things. I can just have to do them on the one. So let's do that. So we need to export our VIP. Actually, I can use... It's funny because I can actually use the .0. The .0 is for my VMs and stuff. I have kind of a thing for that. I have kind of a naming convention. I just need to look it up. So my zeros are my VMs. The 1 dot is my Wi-Fi network, and the 2 dot is I'm using a /16 mask, which is probably a bad idea. Probably should have used like a 17 mask and something like that. So that I could have done, subnetting and stuff. I didn't. I just decided to put everything under 16. So that was quite a bit of decision making to get that. So we have control 1, 2, and 3 over here, and whether or not it's going to be a virtual IP, I did make 42. Should we make it 4242? Should that be like the source of all wonderfulness? It's like, this is how you come into me. 4242 is like my Kubernetes universe. I mean, I could just do that for the hell of it. Right? So let's do... Hell, I could use 0. Is .0 always a broadcast? It only is if the mask matches it perfectly, right? I could do it. It's probably a bad idea. Probably a bad idea. I don't want to do. Yeah, let's say, so this is a VIP. We actually, you know what? We need our own VIP thing. I don't know what to do there. I don't want to do 5. Maybe I do 10. Maybe I do 10. I don't know. So we need virtual IPs. 69. Why not? Because we're gonna get fucked by it. I don't know why this is such a tough decision. Okay, how about 10? How about 200? How about 69? I'll never forget it. No, I should probably just do 42. 42 is kind of like special things, right? So it is. We're definitely bike shedding. Shut the fuck up. Picking IP addresses. The picking of IP addresses based on book titles and sexual innuendo is definitely in the bike shedding area. Definitely. You got me. You got me. You got me. I give in. You are right. No. 10.42.69. No, 10.'s already taken. I'm not doing anything on the 10. But otherwise that would be a great idea. 42.69. I mean, oh, okay. You convinced me. And what's its name going to be? VIP. Very important IP. So VIP.example.whatever. Let's probably make it like VIP.Kates. Yeah. Kate's VIP. How about that? How about just Kate's? VICS for cluster. I think we should just use Kate's. So Kate's.example.com. That's my home domain is example.com. I know. It'd be Kate's. We're just gonna do Kate's. So Kate's is 69. Get fucked. I told you we're not suited before work, right? I already said that. Am I good? I'm sorry. I know. I'll stop swearing. It's funny because we actually have 69 viewers right now. So in the spirit of Twitch, bike shedding. Definitely bike shedding. Absolutely. Absolutely bike shedding. I will now stop bike shedding. As in C for cluster. Yes. Okay, so let's see here. Let's do I'm trying to decide if I want to write a thing right. No, we're going to do by hand. So this is static, so I can just go to town, the wild west of static IPs. Let's shed some more bikes. Shave some yaks at the same time. Hey, you might end up with something you can actually use. 192.168.42.69 is my new virtual IP, otherwise known as VIP. And then we're going to export whatever interface I have, which means I got to list them. How about this big ass IP right here? I mean, this is my main interface, main physical interface on this control machine. These are Dell Optiplex, in case you're wondering. I maybe you weren't, but I don't know. I won't remember that. Did I do 192 or 198? I may or may not have been drinking. Oh my god! Good catch. Thank you. You'll build bike shells for your yak shaving. Thank you, Tomato. You are a good person. Only because I said so. Equals that's our interface. Get the latest version of kube-vip released by parsing code, blah, 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 GitHub API. This is funny because this is something I do all the time. And notice they didn't export it though. I find that interesting. I do. I find this fascinating. They did not export this. I don't even know if I have JQ over here. No, I don't. All right, let's make an Ansible deploy. On the side, we need JQ as a standard part of stuff. So Ansible. I should make a playbook or an ad hoc. I mean, set up L inventory. I mean, this is different. This is a different thing. I need to make a playbook, deploy it. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put it under Kate's and I'll move it. Because I already have Ansible playbooks that are installing shit. Copy. FQ codal. I don't know. Copy install Kate's nodes to install JQ. I mean, I could ad hoc that shit. I want to get, if somebody got mad at me for not doing playbooks, and I'm like, going to make a playbook of one task. I don't care. Because then I can copy and paste it and combine it. You know what I'm saying? And then I can get into roles and shit. Install J of the queue. On actually everything. All, we don't have a version. Become, yes. Install dependencies. Ansible apps package. No, I'm just going to do, I mean, this is pretty damn easy. I just need to do a package called JQ. Not JDQ, Rob. JQ. The rest can bite me. I don't need to update any of the repos or any of that stuff. Although this is good. It's a good playbook to refer to. I spent a lot of time on that. I do. I'm proud of it. We're not going to mark it for, no, it's just plain old simple package install. Just a simple package install that I could have done as a master playbook. It just includes all these ones. Yeah, eventually. And Roasted, you were one of the ones that recommended I start doing the playbooks, right? Even the simple stuff like this. And I concur with that opinion. So this is a BK kind of situation. I'm actually going to search for BK. Hey, look, there it is. We're not tagging anything. We don't need to. Install JQ. Ready, go. I sense I'm going to have time to drink. Cheers. Now, see, if JQ was in my Cloud Init settings and I was doing a Pixie Boot pull, I could put it as a part of the base image, right? Which is not. It should be. I think we should, push to have JQ added, like said. Anything that's got said should have JQ. Oh, Callie can't be reached. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Callie's not around. Callie has JQ already. I don't care. So there. Master Playbook. I mean, this is the reason people were hating on Ansible, including me before, but this right here, me like drinking vodka while I'm watching the install on 30 machines. I mean, that's okay by my book. Try that any other way. What are you going to do? Write that from scratch in Python? Have fun. Do you run Arch as your desktop too? Have fun with that. You'll learn a lot. Agent fatigue, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been a lot of people who don't like it because they've had to write so many Ansible playbooks and they've seen it totally like abused. And I've seen that to a degree, but not enough to jade me from this. This just saved me a ton of shit time. Cooking AMIs with Packer. Packer, I want to look at Packer actually, now that I know a little bit of Ansible and compare them. Yeah. Yeah, Packer's another way to get stuff on an endpoint machine. And I actually heard a bunch of stuff about it from, believe it or not, the Go Time podcast. I have to ask why so many machines. It's a long story. The short version is I ran a company for 10 years and that's leftover machines. And I have those machines and I want to do something with them instead of letting them sit. The minis, all the minis in there, I actually donated to a charity that let them sit for a year. I said, did you do anything with those minis yet? And they said, no. I said, can I have them back? Now they're over here doing this for y'all, burning power for no reason and helping me like struggle through Kubernetes administration. Better than them sitting in a fucking corner in the middle of a charity. That actually happened. That's a true story. And I spent all the time and energy to get this stuff there and to find the charity to donate them to. Sat for a fucking year. And I was like, okay, well, at least I can do something. So, yeah, it cost me 20, 30 grand for that barack over there. But I already spent that money and I'm already in debt for it. And then COVID hit. Hey, I found out there's a possibility that I could get $33,000 from the government in America because of COVID, because it pretty much tanked my business. Not completely, but mostly. So, just putting it out there. They're part of the case pool. Yeah, absolutely. You see all the little blinky lights down here? So these blinky lights right here, these colorful blinky lights, those are all from the game camp. We did game development and game nights and stuff like that. There's leftover. I had 16 originally, and I donated all those to kids that were in my school and thing. And these over here, which I can give you a tour eventually. These right here, there's like 20 Mac Minis there. And those are all pulled together in a Kubernetes cluster. And that's the intent anyway. Mostly for education purposes and this stream, if for no other reason. So, I mean, I already sunk the cost into them, so I might as well use them for something. And the first time they're actually working, it took me about $5,000 to get them all running in a rack. Because I had to buy the PDUs and the racks and I still haven't got the UPSs for it, which is going to be a pretty penny. But it's consistent with my, life goals, helping people learn this shit so they can make money. And believe it or not, as crazy as this shit is, if you learn it, you will. Do you know what the average cost? Do you know what the average salary for a cloud native administrator is? Even one as idiot like me, average salary is $150K. Average salary. If you even can step into the puddle of the pool before you get to the pool in this area, average salary is $150K. For most people, $150K is like life changing, that level of money. And yeah. So, and there's other people that are struggling too because they love the tech. Not me. I want the job. So, I mean, that's the average salary. There's people that make a lot more than that. I mean, one of the guys, I won't say who, you know him. One of the guys that I know that left this job that went to another job. I mean, he's making way north of 300,000. Way north of that. I have been offered $250,000 for this same exact job by an executive vice president who's the mother of one of our kids that I used to mentor. And I turned that down. I didn't want to do it. At the time, I probably couldn't have done it, actually, obviously. But I mean, anyway. Spent my week fighting with Emissary, Ingress, and Linkerd AMA. Really? What do you think of Linkerd versus Istio? Have you compared the two? I kind of want to play with Linkerd, actually. It's mature. Ingress is still incubating, which is really funny, given how prevalent Istio is. The new Istio CTL is pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Or am I? Do I have JQ now? Magical. It's magical. I now have JQ. So I can do the thing that it instructed me to do. Which is this. Did I copy that shit? I don't know if I did. All right. So yeah, we did. Okay. That doesn't look like it copied properly. It does not look like it copied properly at all. So I do SSL. That's my favorite. What's your favorite curl command? Or do you use wget? And we will never speak to each other if you use wget. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm sure you're a wonderful person who KV version. Hey, look, we have a version and it's in the house. I actually have this latest thing codified in my setup scripts in my dot files because I do it all the time. Yeah. To set manual insist, find the desired release tag. Hey, look, it happens to be the right one. Creating the manifest. Of course, we didn't export that. We probably should have. Bad Rob. How about we just do export K version of that? Boo, yeah. All right. We agreed that we were going to do this by hand. That's why we're doing it this way. Insert joke there. Quick starts indicate space they're doing. Pipe the bash. Oh my god, I know. Eleanor, I have ranted on that so many times. I'm like going to break another gasket in my head. Yeah. I mean, I've been reminded it's HTTPS as long as you look at the source, right? But the blind execution of bash files at sudo whatever the fuck, pipe to bash. It's like a plague on our existence. I mean, a bunch of Zoomers are or whoever is just getting started is gonna watch that and go, what the hell? kubectl, exactly. Oh my god. See, but we can laugh about that. See, thank you for being here because we can laugh about that. Spends hours locking down Kubernetes. Has one junior admin use pipe to kubectl apply as root. installs with full RBOC permissions. Installs Red Hat operator controller. If you put that in your cluster, you're stupid. I'm sorry. If you put the Red Hat operator controller in your cluster, you have a death wish, in my opinion. Somebody can fight me on that and convince me otherwise, and I'll change my mind. But as of this moment, that is the stupidest thing you can do as a Kubernetes administrator, is put the absolutely freeform, has permissions to fucking everything, controller from Red Hat into your cluster while putting down the Helm Tiller stuff. So, which does the same thing. Creating a manifest. With the input value now set, we can pull and run the kube-vip image. Oh, can we? All right. All right. Okay, so we need to translate this command into a crictl command, which I imagine is the same. I don't know that we need an alias for this. I mean, we can probably just execute it. Execute it. I kind of want it on the screen, though. In fact, I kind of want it on the same screen. So SSH control 1. We got pass phrases over there. Tiller's gone, thank fuck. But you know what? Tiller, one of the reasons Tiller is gone is because it got shamed for being in all things to all people, full root perms, full RBOC perms, thing. And guess what? Guess what Red Hat's controller does? The same fucking thing. And it doesn't catch any shade at all. It's from Red Hat. It's obviously a thing. We got to do this. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes any architect could ever make is to put that shit in your cluster. But because it's Red Hat, it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. Why does the Helm Tiller stuff get shade and the Red Hat one doesn't? It's the same thing. All right, I'm done now. I'm not done, but you know what I mean. All right, so let's do this. Let's say we're not going to do Docker run. We're going to do... Okay, so, I mean, I actually ripped Tiller out. That's one of the things I actually did is upgrade to Helm 3. It's a pain in the ass, by the way. And we still have Tiller shit out there in user spaces, in user namespace land. I passed PTSD with Tiller. Yeah, me too. And I was the guy who had to write the script to do it. So, yeah. Systemd, why are we bringing random sources of pain and suffering into the conversation? And I implemented it many times with scope permissions. It was a nightmare. Oh my god. Cluster admin at the time you can do. Oh my god. I feel sorry for you, Roasted. Thank you for your service. It's the same words you say to people that have been in a war. Thank you for your service. I am not putting down veterans. Don't attack me because I'm putting down veterans. I'm not. I am respecting veterans. That's what you say to somebody whose job it is to do the thing, but you still say thank you for their service. Even though it's their fucking job. They're getting paid to do it. But they're putting their life on the line and they're, going to bat or whatever. They're going to town, whether they're a cop or a army, and you say thank you for your service because it means, hey, your job puts you in danger and harm's way, so thank you for your service. Which is I had to explain myself. Or not. Okay. crictl image pull. Wait, who the fuck is texting me at like 1 o'clock at night? Probably my wife. She's probably saying, be quiet, please. I'm sure that's it. Oh no, she's telling me she's coming home. And then I missed the call. I'm just checking, make sure I didn't miss anything important. It's 58 degrees outside, in case you're wondering. Unless you're irritated. Cree image pull. Cree-ctl. Cree-cuddle. Cuddle with a Cree. Cuddle with a Cree. GHCR. I have no idea what that is, but I'm going to trust it anyway, because I'm dumb. kube-vip. This is the part I could not do. I need to learn how to download container images and then load them into my thing. At 30 minutes for temperature. Well, it's funny because I actually learned the right units, the others, and then I fail. Unable to determine an image API version. Unavailable description, concession test variable dialing, blah blah blah, because you're not root. This is something I've noticed is kind of weird about crictl, is that you have to be root to run it. Which I suppose is better than having the socket have root permissions like we do with Docker daemons, or the Docker daemon, because you have to explicitly change over to root. So I guess that's fine. I guess that's part of the whole non-privileged thing, right? Did I get that right? I'm guessing I got that right. I want to think I'm oh boy. What the hell? What maybe oh, I know what it is. I don't have a KV version over here. I don't have any of this shit over here because I did it on the other machine. I am a dummy. I'm a dummy sometimes. Sometimes I'm a dummy. Stop. Just stop. Sometimes I'm a dummy. That should probably work better. I protest. Wait, did I not export? How about this? Okay. Okay, I know. I've got Twitch brain and alcohol brain. Now is not the time to do critical tasks, such as pulling Docker daemons. Pulling Docker images. It seems to me that that does not exist. It existeth not. How about this? What am I doing wrong? Is it possible that crictl does not do what it says it's going to do? You fall for the amazing music taste and don't regret it. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you for saying so. Very kind. Yeah, music taste has waned. I have not been playing music lately. I probably need to. Totally not injected. Exactly. Look, I'm starting to think that crictl is not all that I was promised. Watch it work with Docker and not that. If it, you know, I don't want to do that because I'm gonna have like, it's gonna fuck around with virtual networks and stuff. I don't want to do that. I don't want it anywhere in my system. Not my control plane anyway. That would be a stupid mistake, Rob. Don't do that. So why the fuck can I pull images with Cree? That's what I want to know. Unless the image doesn't exist. It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Alchemy, how are you? I mean, well, because I was doing... So, Creasy... Okay, we just do a poll. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. It's because of this. I was looking at the containerd stuff. So, crictl aspires to be Docker. So, all of my Docker knowledge should... I just have to replace crictl with Docker. I'm not going to do the alias thing because I refuse to type Docker anymore. I don't like Docker. I'm kind of pissed at Docker, actually. So I think Docker pulled a bait and switch that to end all bait and switches. Oh, hey, guess what? We're not free after all. Fuck you. At least Red Hat has been like open with what you have to pay for all along. So if you're wondering why I'm throwing shade at Docker, that's why. So I am not putting Docker on any of my systems. Nor is my company, and it's a pretty big-ass company. It's got its own Class A. Because you didn't have your secrets in your ArcV. Shut up. Chachi the Ghost. There's so many people with ghosts in their names, and obviously that means they're spooks. I'm sure. How does the job as a spy? Is it fun? It's funny. I attract a lot of spies in my stream, so I feel good about that. You don't have to say anything, obviously, but it's true. We attract a lot of. We attract. It's funny because the number of names. I mean, watching this thing, we talk much about it, but I got you. See, I told you. We got a lot of people. It's like ghost in their Twitter name, ghost in their Twitter and their Twitch channel equals spook. Yeah, which is fine because spook. I love it. I love it. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Anyway, sudo crictl. So anyway, here we go. What do we got here? Sudo crictl. Agents in the shadows who always put the ghost in their Twitch channel. They always do. Ghost in the shell. Ghost in this. Making baby glowies. Yeah, if they were actual spooks, they put something like they put like Beanie Baby 419. That's a better spook name. Look, I'm just having fun. I'm not judging. Sudo crictl. I love you. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Crictl. Sudo crictl, crictl client for CRI, crictl global options command, blah blah blah. I mean, okay, I think it did what we wanted. It did. I think it did it. Crictl. I keep thinking of Cree from Marvel every time I do that. P.S. Hey, look, we have nothing. I think we need to do dash all, yeah? Is it dash all? Oh wait, what the hell? Why isn't it running? Do I need to do? God damn it! Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you for that. All right, so let's do this. Let's say sudo crictl pull. Anyway, so I feel like it didn't work. I don't see my image. What the hell? Image is up to date. So maybe it's just because it's not running. How do I list all my images? I don't remember my Docker commands. I don't. Image. Oh, there we go. I feel better now. I'm not completely out of touch. Yeah, I just pulled it. Okay, so next step. Next step. What is next on the list? I mean, we can kill that guy. I don't care about you. I don't care about you anymore. All right, so you here. All right, we did that. We did our pull. I'm going to go down in the tutorial a little bit further. We're going to set up ARP manifests. With the inputs and aliases command set, you can run kube-vip container to generate static pod manifest, which will be directed to a file at whatever. As such, this is assumed to run on the first control plane node. Okay, so with the inputs and aliases command set, we can run a kube-vip container to generate static pod manifest. Again, we're going to use this newfangled thing we just downloaded from the random internet. I don't even know what ghcr.io is. Probably should look. I probably should look. I don't want to, set a bad example. So what the hell is Google Container Registry? Is that what it is? Oh, I didn't know that. Was I supposed to know that? GitHub. It's GitHub's Container Registry. GRCO. Oh, GCR is giggles. GHCR. That's GitHub's? I've been wanting to use GitHub's Container Registry versus Docker. Yeah, I've been wanting to do it. I have not used it yet. I am super interested in it instead of fucking Docker Hub. I'm thinking about putting like my workspace container up here for like the boost next year. I need to learn how to do this. I'm glad we had a little side note here. Let me put it in the log. So installed kube-vip container from GitHub. Yep, ghcp.io, which got redirected. Yep. Unforgivable. What the hell? For using GitHub, the content addressable store is a good decision Docker made. Content addressable store. I think I understand. GHCR. All right. GHCR. I need to put it in my log. From ghcr.io. cr.io. Learned that ghcr.io is GitHub container registry. I really want to use it some more. Update size prescription. The container addressable store is good. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, your package is at home with their code. Can you read that? Your GitHub packages, you can safely publish and consume packages with your organization in the entire world. Get started. See pricing. How much does it cost me? How much does it cost me? Because I want to do this. I want to start publishing packages here. Alongside your code and share your packages privately with your team publicly. You can also automate your packages with GitHub Actions. Yes. It talks about packages generically as if they're not containers. Is it not just containers? Working with a container registry. Okay, so it does have NPM and Ruby gems. Didn't they buy NPM? I could swear GitHub consumed NPM at one point, right? Pretty sure that happened. GitHub purchased, which is supposed to be open source, NPM. Yeah. Microsoft agrees to buy code-distributed startup NPM. So they bought that. Isaac Schuler got a lot of money unnecessarily. The guy is the devil. Ryan Dahl even said so publicly in his own way in 10 Things He Hates About Node. And NPM is one of the worst evils ever thrust on humanity in the IT world. Ever rushed to market to make a fucking quick buck. There, Isaac, I'm not a fan. How about that? Piece of shit, Silicon Valley grifter. There, I've said what I really feel. Next topic. So here we go. Look at you. You're like #1 gifted subs. Thank you for that. Okay, GitHub packages. So quick start. Git clone. Okay, that's a rabbit hole. I'm done with it. I'm done with the rabbit. Thank you for the rabbit hole allowance. How many rabbit holes am I allowed per hour? Whoever's watching this on YouTube, I am so sorry. I feel so sorry for you. I am so sorry for you. But you know, you don't have to watch it. You can go watch something else. When NPM came in, I banned it, and you got fired. Good for you. That is a proper thing to do. You probably survived the worm shit. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Don't get mad. Get busy. Don't get mad. Get busy, Rob. Get busy. Get busy. Busy. Okay, so I have a container image. Almost have a static pod. I'm very, very fucking close. I'm just too distracted. ARP. Okay, when the inputs and aliases command set, we can run the kube-vip container to generate static pod manifest, which will be directed to a file at booyah. As such, this is assumed to run on the first control plane node. That's what control 1 is all about. I'm in sync here. The configuration will create a manifest that starts kube-vip, providing control plane VIP and Kubernetes Service Manager using the leader election method and ARP. What does ARP stand for? I don't even remember. For our viewers at home, we should look it up. What is ARP? I mean, I already talked about it a little bit. ARP is the Address Resolution Protocol. I don't know if I remember that. Address Resolution Protocol, procedure that connects to the ever-changing Internet Protocol, address to fixed physical machine addresses-ish, also known as Media Access Control MAC addresses in a local area LAN. This mapping procedure is important because it links to the IP and MAC address. Now go do your research there. That's what R in RWX is about. Protocol. I like protolol better. I'm going to call protocols protolols. Look, if people can use the word hornt instead of horny, why can't we say protolol instead of protocol? I think we should be able to do that because language is fluid. From now on, every occurrence of the word protocol is now protolol. Just to keep it fun. Red pubis. Oh my god, I'll never forget it now. I'll never forget the acronym. Thank you for that vision. Thank you for that image. I will never forget. That's called a mnemonic device, people. It's scientifically proven to help you remember things. You won't remember the real acronym. Oh my god. Somebody should clip that. That was funny. I've just woke my neighbors up from laughing so hard. I'm crying. That's so funny. It may have something to do with the alcohol. Possibly. We're still streaming on YouTube. YouTube, I'm so sorry. I hope you're having a good time because we are. You know, how else to make it through this shit? I mean, we gotta have laughter. How else are we gonna make it through this shit without killing ourselves? Okay, next. With the I got the giggles. I'm gonna be giggling all night now because of you. I hate you. Oh, sorry. Hey, look. Do I have this? Kube-vip. Kube-vip. I don't have a kube-vip command. What the hell? What did it, is it because it's in my container? Maybe I have to do a container thing. TCP jokes. Until you acknowledge my receipt. I'd let you use the UDP joke, but I'm not sure you get it. Lol. Same security model over the package namespace in AUR. I don't trust it. Address resolution protocol. Yeah. You pulled the image but didn't install it. Is that what happened, Diamond? Well, the tutorial didn't tell me to, so there. Says the kid in the classroom. Creating the manifest. It doesn't say that. Oh God, you clipped that. Get the latest version of the kube-vip release just by parsing the GitHub API. This step requires a JQ and curl installed. Okay, we did that. Do I have curl installed already? I assume. No, we set it manually. And we keep repeating. I think we covered that. So, create the manifest. If running multiple control planes, ensure this place in the control plane static manifest directory. Depending on the container, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. For container, do you run the following can? No, I don't want to do that. For Docker, we run this. Oh, look at that. We have to run the thing. I see. Thank you for the reminder. I'm not completely with it tonight. crictl, which is otherwise known as Docker for Creo. Run dash network, which has a shorter alias that I don't remember at the moment. Host, which is current host. Dash remove after you're done. So we got the image. We have to actually run shit from the image. Oh, they're making an alias, so every time you do kube-vip, it actually runs it. Oh. Okay, I'm down. I'm down with that. I'm down with that. So that's what's up. I actually know what's going on with that. Thank God I learned about Docker like last year. I'm not even kidding. I have very new Docker knowledge. Still lacking in things. But I did make some pretty crazy, amazing workspace containers last year. Because I got obsessed with Docker last year. Boosted 2023 is going to be back to containers, by the way. Because it's just easier to get a terminal. I think that I have a K version here, but I'm not completely sure. Yeah. Let's actually type that alias. Kube-vip. Linux for sure. I was like ranting and raving about how awesome WSL2 was, and it dropped me on my fucking face. If you want to see all the videos and stuff about it, just go. I will never ever use WSL2 again in my life. And I've written and made lots of videos about why. Ever. I'll use WSL so I can use Podman because Docker Desktop is proprietary now. But I will never ever use WSL2 again, so help me God. Why are you telling me TCP jokes? Because I haven't acknowledged your receipt? I acknowledge your receipt. You want a fin weight? So you can stop typing that shit? Or are you stuck in fin weight? Or ACK or whatever. kube-vip is alias to crictl run dash network host. And it got the right thing. And so... seriously, just run a virtual machine and you get real Linux. The biggest reason not to use WSL2 is it's always going to be playing catch up. And it can't mount USB sticks. A million other reasons. Don't use it. Just use an actual virtual machine. Use VMware. Don't use VirtualBox. It'll fuck you over too. You asked my opinion. That's it. It's tagged with latest? Are you sure? Oh, it is tagged with latest. Shit, I gotta tag it. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, you know why? It's because I pulled it without the thing. Yeah, thank you for noticing. I thank you. I thank you for that. I actually know what you're talking about. I sort of in disbelief that I actually know what you're talking about. So we pulled another full image just for the other tag instead of tagging it, which is probably the right thing to do. Sudo cre. Do I have to even sudo? Cre. Yeah. CTL. Images. Did I have to sudo that shit? Wow. Wow, we have two actual separate images with different tags. Fin weight versus RC packets. RC is pretty damn rude. Yeah. Are you sure they're not the same? Oh, the same image ID. Okay, I get what you're saying. The same identical size, same image ID. So different tags. That's interesting. I don't think Docker displays a list of images that way, does it? I don't remember. I'm wondering if that's a difference in the crictl image output versus Docker. I don't know. Can anybody? It does? Okay. Thank you for that. For the most part, crictl is supposed to be 100% compatible with Docker output. So, as I understand it. So, that's good to know. If you don't know Docker, sucks to be you. You're me as well. All right, let's go back into our tutorial. We can now run our alias that we just dutifully created according to the tutorial. I know it's taking forever. I don't care. I don't care. If you don't like how long this is taking, go away. But I wasn't sure he got it. Oh, God. Craig, I know you're fast at this stuff. I know. Flex more, please. Here we go. Here we go. Do I have an interface defined before I do this and like fuck everything up? Echo interface. I'm pretty sure I do, but just to be sure, I don't. Oh my God, I'm so bad. You know why? Because I made a new thing. This is why I should have wrote a fucking script in the first place. Can we just agree on that point? I should have just written a fucking script. Why don't I just do that? I don't even care if it's just like here. It's like a script. Pin hash. Then I wouldn't have that problem because I wouldn't have like changed panes and had the fuck up that I have. There's no schmucks. Yeah, I know because I moved over because I split pane and stuff. And then I lost all my environment. Which is why you should put it in a script anyway. Don't be me. Schmod plus X. I can't schmuck because I don't have any. This is another thing I was going to NFS mount my home directory and get all my shit for free, but I haven't done that yet, and I don't want Ansible to push my bash RC. So that's why I'm doing schmucks, and I don't have like stuff here. Export. I mean, I don't know if we need that. I mean, I don't know. What if we just no, because it's not gonna do it. We have to source the fucker. Yeah, export. Let's do that. And then I'll just source the shit so that it stands in it, so it works in the current environment. Just so I have it written down because I'm kind of drunk. VIP equals. So I remember what I did tomorrow morning. 192.168.42.69. Export interface equals bang bang IP dash CA. I'm gonna go grab them all here because I'm lame. Why did I do A? I didn't dash C. That was stupid. IPA. That's a lazy way to get your interface number without cutting and pasting. I don't care if you judge me. I need to source the fucker. Export interface equals whatever, and then we're gonna do a K version, which come on, we gotta have that in there. Use all the vims. Yes, Unix philosophy. This is actually incomplete, but we are going to put it here nonetheless. And paste. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, I may or may not. It may be user error on my part. That might be user error on my part. Yes, I'm somewhat challenged on occasion. It's a mental condition. Don't judge me. Use all of them. Where's my drink? It's really good. I really love it. I love drinking. I mean, I'm not like addicted or anything. I just, balm or peak kind of things. I feel like this is going to work. Yeah. A script source. The dot stands for A script. It needs WSL. We're in trouble. Does it not have WSL? It does. HTTPS. JQK version. Yeah. EDT Echo KV version. Booyah. Echo interface. How about that? Are you proud of me? I know you are. Okay, so my friends, V3 requests, jealous. What are you fighting over? What are you fighting over? That's like totally irrelevant. All right, so a script and this wonderful lime color, which is horrible, but whatever. All right, so this would imply that I'm ready for the next step. I'm ready to move on in our relationship. My relationship with kube-vip. We're very close to, going all the way. As if there wasn't enough sexual innuendo in this stream so far. Come on, where is it? Where is the command? There it is. There's that baby. Okay, I'm writing that shit down because God knows I'm not going to do that later. I'm going to change a script to source me baby. Source me baby. How about that? Okay, and we'll do the other thing. What is this thing? We'll call it make manifest. How about that? Make manifest. Yeah. I'm gonna do that. Schmod plus X schmucks. That's a thing that I do because I don't like the stupid plus because I'm lazy. Make manifest. It will be an actual shebang file. Bin bash because security. And then we'll do kube-vip, which we don't have as an alias because now we don't have a command. No, we don't. We never the fucking alias. I'm not going to be able to run it here because aliases aren't exported. It's going to be, I can't run from a script, so I have to export it as a function. God damn, I hate shell sometimes. You follow me, people? You follow me? Do you follow me? Use of aliases is bullshit. I hate aliases. Can we just say, you should use, instead of aliases, you should use, in my opinion, you should use what I call, I can't remember what I call them. Command function commands or whatever, because if it's a command then you can actually use it as a filter. You can actually it persists. You can use it from VI and everything with the bash command. You can't do it with an alias. Aliases are shit. So I'm not doing the alias. Where the fuck is the alias? I'm gonna change this. Rebuild the variable because it's almost 1 a.m. Well, then go away. I'm not stopping anytime soon. I know you want me to finish before this is done, but tough. I prefer scripts in bin. Me too. All right, so let me tell you what I'm talking about here. All right, what I'm talking about here is making a cube, whatever the fuck, kube-vip. So kube-vip. Yeah, and this is all stuff that will persist. I'll put it in a playbook or something later. You can use aliases in bin, but no, you cannot. Not unless you export them. Want me to prove it? I don't know how many times I've proved that. I don't want to prove it again. No, you absolutely cannot. You can do functions as long as your base shell is bash. You can't otherwise, because and if you want to do any exec syscalls from any other like Go programs or something like that, fuck you. You can't do it because you don't have a bash shell. So executables always win, in my opinion. Plus X kube. This is why you see so many tiny ones. That's why I'm consolidating them all into a single monolith called my Z monolith with Bonsai. By the way, advertisement for Bonsai. If you haven't seen Bonsai, go learn about it and love it if you want to give me your feedback. XQV is a universal interface, and you cannot do that unless it's an executable. The end. You cannot use execve on anything that's an alias or a function. The end. So that's why. That's why a really a one-liner is always better than an aliaser function, despite the fact that, I mean, I've learned this very much the hard way, to tell you the truth. Because I went to go use things as filters from side VI, and I was like, oh, I don't have it. Then I went to use it. I went to call it from Go, from an exec call and Go, and can't do it because it's not executable, because it's a fucking function. So there's only one reason to use aliases or functions, and that is to modify the current existing environment. And that includes things like cloning and CDing into the directory and having it persist. You can't put that in a script. It has to be sourced. So that means it has to be a function. And I've talked about this in the boost a lot. If you don't know it, I go over this in the boost like ad nauseum. So that's the reason I'm such a fan of this kind of shit. But it does mean that we need to make some changes here. So let's go up here. Instead of using an alias here, which is bullshit, we're gonna actually not use aliases, and we're gonna make a one-liner. And the kube version we can actually pull down if we want to, but we'll go ahead and use the conversion from the thing. So this we can just make this Docker run. We're not even going to use Docker run. We're going to create CTL. I mean, and this is all going into a playbook eventually. So it'll just be a command ad hoc or a playbook for command module. Anyway, create CTL run network host, kube-vip, get rid of you. That should definitely be quoted. Our shell check is going to complain. I don't have shell check on here. I should probably put it on everything, but wasn't planning on writing shell on my endpoints. That's not a thing. It's a good reason. It's a good thing I know Vim and not fucking Emacs, right? I mean, I live this every day. You want to edit a file on a remote system, and you're going to do your fucking Emacs shit to do remote edit. It's fine. That's fine. If you want to do that, it's fine. I don't. All right, kube-vip. Hey, look, it runs a thing, and we'll use -h. Hey, look, it's running it. It's working. It's doing exactly what it aspires to do. Flag provided by undefined -network. Oh, it's not 1 dash. It's 2. It's 2 apparently. What? Why is it not happy? Flag provided by undefined network. Uh-oh. It doesn't have a network equivalent. I was afraid of this. Doesn't have networking. crictl doesn't have networking. There's a chance. This is the problem with using things that are Docker-esque that are not actually Docker. And this leaves me wondering, crictl equivalent of -- network. I don't know. Kubernetes, it may imply host network. That's what I'm thinking, but I don't know that. I mean, there's no guarantee that that's what's happening. We're just guessing there. So if I'm going to use crictl, I need to know what is up. This section requires third-party projects. crictl's command line interface for security-compatible container runtimes. You can use it to inspect and debug container runtimes as applications. It's also hosted in the crictl tools repository. Exact versions, mapping. Docker CLI to crictl retrieve document caption. Attach images, inspect log ps stats version. I'm guessing it does imply it, but we don't know that, right? Run a command in a new container. Well, okay. Well, I assume the whole networking model for Cree is totally fucking different because it's unprivileged and all that shit. I'm guessing the whole network model is different from Docker. So yeah. Return file system info, image fs info. What the hell is that? Display the status of one or more pods. Pods, list pods. List pods? You can list pods? Shit. Seriously? How does it know about pods? Is Kubernetes aware? Shit. It's Kubernetes aware. Why would Creo be Kubernetes aware? It has nothing to do with Kubernetes. Wow. I'm having a moment here. crictl can be used to manipulate pods directly on the endpoint, including static pods. I mean, that's a pretty fucking big deal. I mean, let's pause for a second to appreciate what a big deal that is. I mean, that itself might be a reason to use Creo over everything else. I mean, it crosses the lines. It's like it's a separation of concerns violation, but I don't care. I mean, think about that second. If we don't have any, if it turns out that crictl can be used to manage static pods on the endpoint directly, why the fuck would you use Docker or Podman or anything else? Seriously, why would you use anything else? I mean, that alone, that one thing, if that turns out to be true, I will never look at another container runtime management tool in my life, ever. And I know that crictl hasn't got a lot of love on the internet yet, but from what I'm reading, that's huge. I mean, that is really fucking big. That's a big deal. Of course, I can't confirm that yet. I need to, get there. Right now, I'm only concerned with the fact that it doesn't support the -- network argument, and that kube-vip has no knowledge of crictl. I would love them to add a little, blurb about how to do this with crictl, because that seems like the new normal. Creo, more and more people are picking it up. I'm kind of happy, actually. I have a feeling that our kube-vip can have the network. We can just drop the network stuff. I have a feeling it just knows it. I think it knows what to do. I don't think it's dumb. I think it just gets it. And somebody suggested that, so I tend to agree with that. Let's try it. Let's try just a good old -h. Nope, no idea. Wait, what? Did I already make it an alias? Fuck. Did I already make it an alias? I did. I feel bad. Yeah, it's already alias. Fuck you, alias. Unset kube-vip. Plus, I should have been dot slash. Actually, I can just do this. I can do dot slash. No, I should unset it. Unset kube-vip. I don't want to fucking alias anymore. I tried to unalias you. Unalias. What's it called? Okay, good. Kube-vip. Okay, stop using Docker default. Thank God. Create interface. Yes, this is. I know about this. I'm glad you're saying that, but that's what I'm talking about. Flag provided but not defined. RM. Oh, it should be --RM. I'm guessing. Yeah, it's --RM. Wait, what? Why does it have such a weird interface? I'm kind of confused. It decided to depart on many things, like run. Run is not the same. It doesn't have a run. It doesn't have a remove. Apparently you can't remove it. It's not Docker compatible, which is annoying as fuck. Because everybody learned on Docker. I did. Other by Cube. Seems more kubelet specific. Absolutely is. The fact that you can't remove the image after you run it. I mean, I'm learning things here. nerdctl is a drop-in replacement for Docker CL. I'm thinking about that, actually. Yeah. I mean, if you're following along out there, and God help you if you are, we are trying to make a decision about what container runtime tool to use on the endpoints. And there's a lot of them. And they depend on the runtime you're using. And in my case, I'm using Creo. So, CRI-CTL comes from the Kubernetes team. It is generic. It doesn't have the power of Docker, like the RM and all the other stuff that you would want to use. nerdctl is a drop-in replacement. Podman is more or less a drop-in replacement. Why do I care? Because I'm trying to decide whether I should put nerdctl on there or not. And that means, adding an Ansible rule to do the apt install for nerdctl and pretty much doubling down on one of them. I don't want to learn them all. And I'm not fucking typing Docker anymore. So, I mean, I used to alias D for that kind of thing. I'm not doing that anymore. And it would appear that crictl does not have the kind of thing that I need. So one of the reasons I'm inclined to use Podman or nerdctl is because I can use that same thing whether I'm using a Mac. Or I'm actually more inclined to install Podman actually, which is funny. If you know me, you know I've kind of hated on Podman over the years, and my opinion on that's really changed recently with the full support for Podman desktop on everything, including ARM Macs. So, I mean, I don't want to put everything into one particular. I mean, I do really. I don't want to spread my knowledge across like multiple, command line tools for managing Docker containers. And I think knowing crictl is essential learning because sometimes you're not going to have the other stuff depending on where you're at. But in my own home network, I need to decide what I'm going to install and everything. It's either going to be nerdctl or Podman. And at the moment, I think I'm going to do Podman because I'm doing Creo. Creo is already Red Hat. So, I think I just made a decision to do that. Because right now it's stopping me. I can't install kube-vip because I can't run the fucking thing because I can't use the RM. Now I could probably do it without the RM. But I'm kind of on my own here because kube-vip does not assume it assumes you're using containerd or Docker, and we're not using either of those. You can probably get away with using crictl run and remove it manually. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're going with this. But I'm pausing because I need to make some notes about this long term. And your shell script is doing a Unix tail call elimination. I mean, we could definitely do an exec here if we wanted to. Yeah. Run. It's trying to run something, but there's nothing to run. Yeah. So it's doing it now. Yeah, it's doing it. There's nothing to run. We need to tell it to run. So I think we're actually good to go for the next step. But I don't want to lose this. So decided that crictl is not quite enough. Need to install nerdctl or Podman. And I don't know which one. We need to make a decision about that for my network. And I need to kind of marry myself to one of them. I do not want to split time across all of them. I'm not fucking using Docker though. It's not happening. Not anymore. Anyway, so kubectl. Did I just zoom on accident? What the hell? Oh, here we go. All right, so okay, here we go. kube-vip. What are we running again? Manifest. I mean, what let's try something else. Let's like a help or something. Run container config.json. Run command and then options. What command can we run that's not like serious to test whether it works? It doesn't seem like it has any. Definitely doesn't have completion. Well, I haven't added it, so I have to do -C for that. kube-vip. I mean, I doubt this is gonna work. I doubt it's gonna work, but let's try it anyway. Interface. Okay, so that's there. So, I mean, make manifest. I just want to write it. I don't care. Yeah, I'll fix it all later. I'll put it in Ansible or whatever. This whole localized running thing is bullshit, but manifest pod. Oh my god. How do you not know your shell script? Are you really doing force-based indent? Really? Is that the default vim over here? Oh my god. Please tell me it's not a fucking tab, an actual tab. Shit. See, this is why I need to do manifest mounts for home already. Because I have to do this shit. I might as well copy this, and copy it over. Maybe that's the way to go. It's not going to be saved. Why the fuck am I writing this on the control plane and it's not getting saved anywhere in my Git repo? That was stupid. Yeah, I should just SCP the thing over. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. Source me, baby. I'm kind of being stupid here. I'm gonna fix this. I promise you. Make directory with Kubernetes Kates. Make directory kube-vip. So you do a kube-vip. SCP control 1 slash whatever the fuck source me baby. Actually I can just do everything. Dot colon, sorry. Is that all in the root? Oh my god. Rob. What the hell? Alright, there the files are actually in version control now. What the hell was I thinking? Remove star. Remove dir foo. I have stuff in there. Remove this rf. Foo. Alright, that's much safer. Alright, so source me baby is here. Make manifest is here. But we don't know what we're doing here. So I can turn this control plane off thing. I mean, I can keep it open, I guess. Alright, let's go source this. I'm not proud, I'm just going to copy it. Insert this here. UCMT that. There we go. You're done. Bin bash. Bin ash. Ash is actually a thing. Manifest pod equals whatever. Set list. Please tell me this is not a tab. Thank God. No list. Interface. So we're assuming we have an interface set. We should probably do a check here. To do validate interface and VIP. So, but I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm just gonna put in a thing. I guess you should run it remote, either using a command from ad hoc on all the systems. I mean, why don't I just do that? Ansible. Shit. I mean, but then I'd have to set all the environment variables, right? I mean, what if I just put them in here? Source me baby. What if I do that? What if I do that, huh? Huh? Source me baby, put it in here. And then put it in every one. I know that's lame, but I mean, that'll get us for today. Hell, I can run this shit. I can run this like as is. So let's do that. Let's do Ansible. Good old Ansible. Ansible ad hoc -m command. And then we have to put the command over there. How do you run a remote command? Can you do that? Ansible run remote. I mean, it would have to be. I'd have to do the copy of the script. I'd have to do the playbook. The copies the script over, then runs it. Right? I mean, I can just SCP over and run it. I mean, that's not a big deal. I'm just curious to see if there's like a way for us to do Ansible. Built-in shell command module. We don't need that. We can do Ansible doc command. Command module takes a command followed by a list of space-limited arguments. Blah, blah, blah. Where's the examples? Let's see. Change the network. Change the working directory somewhere and run it. I mean, how do I get it to run a command that I have written locally on a remote system? I think I'm gonna have to do two tasks. I'm gonna have to copy it over and then run it, and then delete it. I think. User bin make directory database blah blah blah. RMS on one line. Run command. Freeform. Ansible busy command blah blah blah. Command module parameter path database exist. change directory, create, run it. Argv database, blah blah blah. Safely use a template variable. No, return value CMD. Yeah, I'm gonna have to copy it over, which I'd have to do anyway. So that sounds like playbook stuff. Yeah. Oh, I just fucking SCP'd it. I mean, I can run it remote or I can run it like from here using SSH. Doesn't matter. Make manifest run. Permission denied. Fuck you. Did I run a sudo? Apparently I need to run it as sudo. Sudo make manifest. Manifest export failed. Well, you know, I did what you told me, so I have protest. I'm not changing this file because I'll get fucked up. Interface should be quoted, by the way. I should not make changes here. Let me get here. Why the heck is this not quoted? Because they don't know how to code? Sudo T. You think? I mean, I guess it assumes they're running as root. I should put a to do in here and say to do check that running as root. I mean, that's what they're assuming. They're, you know what I mean. SCP, let's copy that over. I don't need the whole thing. I just use sudo, actually. Without the sudo, I can do this, yeah. Make manifest. What the hell? Manifest usability manifest. Export file name. It's not happy for some reason. Oh, I think it's supposed to be kubectl manifest. Did I leave that out? How dumb can I be? Oh my god, Robert! Time for me to just give this up and go away. SCP. I have a feeling we could probably sudo that shit. No, yeah. That's probably the problem. Keep pushing it. Load. Quit. Exit. Sudo. Sudo make manifest. /. kube-vip command I found. That's because we made it into a function. Yeah. Yep. Yes, we did. Uh-huh. I'm going to make it into a function right now. Yes, I am. Kube-vip. No. VIP. Give you grief. It doesn't have the same CLI as Docker. Well, that's apparently been our problem so far. We already talked about that. We're going to put podman or nerdctl on there and go from there. But we're going to try this at least. We're going to at least try this. And if it doesn't work, then we'll do that. That'll be the next step. Yep. You know what I mean? We talked about that. We talked about that very thing. Sudo make manifest. What the fuck? Yeah, there's the run thing. So that's exactly what you were talking about. There is no Zool. It's like, I hate you. I hate you. Increase the run Kubernetes version. Apparently it doesn't work. Okay, so first of all, there is no manifest command apparently. So this is not working. Yeah. I mean, oh, right. Oh my God, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. Thank you very much. You're brilliant. You're not passing any arguments. Derp. Brilliant. Inspector, you get some points for that. That's brilliant. I mean, everybody's been helping me all night, so I don't know. It's very random, but that was a very much a derpy moment for me. Make Bcache? That's a thing? Did not know that. God damn it. Wait, did I copy it? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I need a dash in there or something. I don't know. Alright, it's not working. Oh, time for me to go to bed probably. So, because I'm fucking up more than I'm doing good. So, crictl run. I mean, I don't even know what it can run is the kind of problem, right? Apparently it doesn't like one of these options. The problem is I don't even know what the kube-vip container runs. I don't know what its options are at all. And I don't feel like it's telling me what its options are. It's telling me I can't run, right? It's telling me these are not run a new container inside sandbox, container, pod config, YAML. I think a couple people have already said this. I don't think crictl is suitable to replace podman or Docker. Period. Because it's just not fucking running it. It's not running it. It's not a Docker thing. It's just not. Runtime value, runtime handler to use available options are container runtime timeout with pull. Yeah, I don't think it's the right thing. I think we're gonna have to install something. I think we're gonna have to do install like a nerdctl or podman. And I don't know. Install why podman. I don't even think that's gonna work. Let's try. Let's just try podman. I know podman works, so I should probably do sudo for that. I don't actually need sudo. It's the dissection script. Yeah, I mean, okay. Okay. I think that well, we know the problem. Run it's spewing because it doesn't have. We should probably do a -e as well, but yeah, it's like no, can't do it. See, it gets to the part where it actually calls the API. It goes to the JQ thing just fine, and then it goes to run a kubeadm manifest pod, and wait, is it putting the run line on another kube-vip manifest pod blah 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 control plane? Is it splitting that across lines? Manifest pod interface address control plane services ARP leader election T to thing. Yeah, it doesn't support it. It just bottom line, it doesn't support the run syntax that we're using. Period. I think what it's doing. I think we probably need a dash in there or something. I think the crictl probably is trying to use the arguments for itself on run instead of passing those arguments to the container, which I think would probably be a. I mean, I don't know the crictl at all. So. Creo and crictl are unrelated. I know they are unrelated for sure. But what I'm suggesting is like, it's not completely apparent from There's no man page. It's like a Go program. I want to say that it has stuff, but not what you think, right? So yes, it can run a pod, but not the way you think. And let's be honest, this is more Kubernetes related than it is anything else. It's not related to containers. I mean, it uses containers, but it's not a container management tool. Yeah. Yeah, I think we have to have a podman over here. Honestly, I think that's the takeaway from this. That we can't do that. We have to have an actual, podman RM kind of situation going on. In fact, let's actually try it from the command line again. Now that we have podman over here, podman is a drop-in replacement for Docker, and for these days, like for everything. So let's try to do it one line at a time and kind of abandon crictl. I mean, the problem we're having here is that the kube-vip instructions they assume either containerd or Docker, and we're not using either of those. So we're kind of guessing about what to do. Creating the manifest. So again, here we go. So again, podman proclaims to be the same as Docker, so let's check. Let's do this. Let's actually do it from the command line. I mean, I've seen people's alias Docker to podman. We're not going to do that though. Podman run -- network host --rmghcr.io, which is GitHub. We found out kube-vip. Kube-vip 0v0.5.0, which is the KV version, which is probably not defined actually. I happen to know what 0 is 5.0. So we're just going to try that. Trying to pull. Now that's what I would expect to see. And of course it has problems, but it did it. It definitely pulled it. Yeah, and now this is cool because now we're getting the manifest. Now we're getting the actual output I was expecting to get. There you go. This is kube-vip. Yep, running manifest. Yep. And it's actually called kube-vip. Look at that. What do you know? And we did run it, and look at that. It actually said, hey, I don't know what you want to do here. So we did a kubernetes of a pull. I probably should have pulled it. But now in our make manifest, we can change the kube-vip to the podman run. We can use the --rm. We can use everything from this network host, which we probably have to have. Network host. Remove. And that should be good to go. Okay, so let's copy that over. That makes me happy. It also makes me able to sleep better. So, I mean, it's going to need sudo still. Or is it? Oh my god, I think it did something. I am seeing YAML, which is usually a good sign. Make a manifest. And it was a T. That means it actually added my manifest to kube-vip. Virtual IP is what it stands for. args manager name, vip, arp, shrew. Kube system. It's probably going to get annotated here. Do we have kubectl over here? We do, right? kubectl. Get pods. What the hell? Did you specify a rig or post for? I mean, isn't we supposed to? Oh, right. kubectl needs the API. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to do that. Nope, that's interesting. Yeah, because we're gonna look at that's probably a CTI thing, crictl thing. I think the crictl thing looks at the pods even if they're not on the API. Yeah, I do. Pods. Unable to determine by this. No pods. Dial varlo creo socket person to mind. Maybe Creo's not running yet. I do not know. All right, so I mean, it would appear that it did what it was supposed to do. Podman ps sudo podman ps sudo podman list images image. I don't need sudo podman images. There we go. All right, it's different commands. So it's image on crictl, it's images on podman and docker. So I'm happy. I'm going to put that in my log. Decided, yeah, installed podman and found it much more Docker like. I'm going to just use podman. I mean, the whole world is using podman right now. So, and podman on the desktop is really great these days. So, you know, I've changed my mind kind of on that. I was not a big podman fan last year, but these days they really fixed a lot of things and I really love it. Especially since I can just use Docker-ish kind of here. And that's working. So we were supposed to just run the container to generate our manifest. If it worked, then we can go validate that the manifest got created by checking it out. So we should have an etc. It's probably going to be require root, but we'll check. kube-vip. Boom. We have a kube-vip static pod that's here, and we probably just need to start this fucker up. So, and then we'll try our thing, see if we can see what's up with that. We won't be able to really check the Kubernetes stuff until we do finish the rest of the kubeadm commands, but this configuration will create a blah blah blah. And when running these commands to be in control of control plane, sudo access. Wait, didn't we just do that very thing? I think that's what we did. Right? Wait, did I change the right one? Please tell me I did. God damn it. God damn it. Make manifest. Yeah, okay, I just SCP'd it over, right? Alright, so we have interface address VIP control plane services ARP. We're using ARP and not BCG or BGC or BCG, I can't remember. Leader election, we got that. Okay, so that worked. So that part of our kube-vip install worked. Example, ARP manifest, we got it. We got it. Ours looks exactly the same, just looked at it. BGP, we're not going to skip. We're going to skip that. We're not using BGP. So skip that. We're done. We're done. We have kube-vip in the house. Now, apparently, as soon as we do this, now we can just use this IP number, this VIP that we've created with a host entry, which we're calling KSAP, by the way. I don't think I've synchronized my host files. I probably should do that. I do have an Ansible thing for that until we can NFS mount that kind of thing. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I am. I'm gonna go ahead and push the host name changes to my network because I don't have DNS set up. So I'm just using host files, which are SSH completable. I hit tab a couple times, and it's effectively the same thing. So, but we need to run it. So copy.all is my ad hoc task for that. So we're gonna go ahead and run that. And yeah, Ansible. Wait, copy.all. It's ad hoc. I should probably turn it into playbook. Why am I doing this? Because I want all my hosts to know the same IP number for my new virtual IP that I just configured using kube-vip. Looks like it's going just fine. We'll go check it out. Okay, so let's go back over here. If this works, I should be able to SSH tab and see Kate's, and there it is. Right, and Kate's is now virtual IP. In fact, we might be able to, it's not running. I imagine it's not running yet because we haven't started it. A kube-vip is probably not answering yet. How do I start kube-vip up? Would that be because the kubelet has to start running? But the kubelet keeps crashing because it doesn't have kubeadm. Oh, I think I know what's going to happen here. So kubelet can't run a static pod until it stays up, and it's not going to stay up until kubeadm is finished its configuration. So I think we have this stuff to go to the next page, but I don't think we can actually use our new virtual IP until the kubelet actually stays running. Yeah, I think kubelet, but right now kubelet is in a crash loop, right? Because it's been installed and everything, and it keeps starting up, and it can't get the container and stuff, right? Kubelet will never stay up until it has kubeadm, the rest of the kubeadm config. Just run by having a manifest in that directory. The static pod, but that assumes the kubelet is actually up, right? There's no way for me to test this because I can't start the kubelet until the rest of the kubeadm config is done, because kubelet fundamentally depends on the kubeadm component. There's no way for kubelet to run standalone without having the rest of its configuration. It's kind of a chicken and the egg thing. It's kind of ironic because we had to set up the static pod, but I can't really test the static pod to see if, the whole VIP thing even works until kubelet stays running, which requires the kubeadm be installed. But kubeadm couldn't be installed until I set up the HA virtual IP. So what this means, people, is that we are at the next step. So the next step, I know that was a really long night, but the next step of this is to actually install kubeadm with the control plane endpoint with the new IP, or specifically the DNS Kates, which will then be our central point of using kube-vip, which we cannot test until kubeadm is up, until the kubelet's running, which means kubeadm has finished its installation. We've done all that stuff. So that's all good to know. How relevant kube-vip is going to be for my production environment at work is yet to be determined. I was accelerating all of this work till I can get to the point where I'm doing etcd backups, which is, you got to have a cluster for that. And we haven't even got there yet. But I'm super glad that we went down the kube-vip rabbit hole, because if it turns out to work, this is something I can actually deploy in our infrastructure cluster and in our development cluster instead of the super expensive, physical load balancer which we have in production. There's no way they're ever going to spend the money on that load balancer. That kind of, I assume. And this is all based on HA and stuff for going into the Kubernetes cluster. You need that one IP, that one name to access the entire cluster that you can be guaranteed is going to be really performant. And there's lots of ways to get there. And now I think we understand all of those different ways. I do anyway. I feel like I do. I at least can talk intelligently about the different approaches to the whole, load balancing HA thing before you even get to the kubeadm installation stuff. It does really leave me wondering what, cluster CTL and cluster API are going to do with this. Are they aware of HA, or are they, kind of like hard coded to do the internal pod etcd and all that kind of thing? We don't know. That's going to be something for the future. Right now I'm dealing with reality, which is kubeadm for all the things. And so that is, I know you might have wanted more, but hopefully this will help resolve a lot of things. So we did make a bunch of really important decisions here that were very educational. So we definitely learned that crictl is not podman. It's not Docker. crictl is not a drop-in Docker replacement. It actually has, a lot of Kubernetes nests to it, which you can look at pods locally and stuff like that, which is amazing, but not needed in this particular case. It also appears to need kubelet running, because I have a pod on there, and it's a static pod and it's configured properly in the manifest, but because kubelet's not running, crictl doesn't appear to be able to see the static pod when I do listing pods, because kublet's not there. So that seems to me to mean that crictl, which is supposed to be an endpoint thing, a node thing, still needs a kubelet. So that means it's still API driven, in my opinion. I don't know. Aren't distributed systems fun? Oh yes. So we went through sort of a Harbor thing. The conversation about Harbor and the container registry and static pods and stuff caused me to rethink my own architecture. I'm definitely going to bring up an infrastructure cluster, my own admin cluster that's going to run Harbor. That'll be separate from my production cluster, so that Harbor and storage and etcd backups and minio and those kind of things will be running external to my production cluster, and they'll be running an administrative cluster, which is really the keys of the kingdom. And I mean, I think I could even probably deploy, all of the other Keycloak and things like that. Keycloak is an independent sort of thing, but I do think we could probably put, hey, Terror, how's it going? So decided crictl is not quite enough. So I went with podman. nerdctl is an amazing thing, but I'm podmanning all the things lately. I have had this week, as I reported earlier, I've had an extreme amount of success using Podman on Windows, Mac, and Linux, including Mac ARM. So Podman Desktop for the win these days. It uses kube-vip on everything, by the way. It uses WSL and not WSL2. By the way, I'm pretty sure they're the reason that systemd has come to WSL recently, which was reported. That's some pretty good news there. And people would think to throw away WSL. The truth is WSL is actually better than WSL2 in many respects that I don't want to get into right now, but there definitely is. And Podman Podman Desktop on the Windows actually automatically stores it. So why is that relevant? Because if you're going to, an official blog post on it, yeah, they did. So if you're going to invest in a Docker replacement, like you're going to use that Docker tool and your fingers are going to get memorized, all the command line and everything. I learned tonight that crictl is not a replacement for that. It doesn't have --rm. It doesn't use networking hosts and all that. So the only true replacement for that at the moment is either nerdctl or podman. And podman got a little bit more traction. Plus it's Red Hat. So, you got OpenShift and all that other enterprise money, funding the whole thing. As much as I may not like Red Hat, it doesn't matter. Podman is kind of the winner here. Systemd support is now available on WSL. Yep. So I would venture to guess that Red Hat was specifically involved with that, because Red Hat Podman on the desktop specifically requires WSL and not WSL2. And for some reason, Red Hat decided to invest in that, which I think is kind of wise on their part. They talk about microcates and Kubernetes running locally on your system. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, microcates is not bad. I'm not, that's an Ubuntu thing. Yeah. So that whole Podman rabbit hole was if I'm going to get used to a drop-in Docker replacement, it's going to be Podman, the end. And so we went ahead and installed it. I created an installer. I probably need to install it on all my targets. In fact, why don't we go ahead and do that really quick? And so let's do that. Let's say created playbook to install Podman on everything. I figured I could almost put that in one of the other playbooks that I have already. I don't really need to put that in the same one, because I mean we have a number of other ones already. Install Kate's nodes. I mean I feel like that should go in here actually. So yeah, we're just gonna put Podman in here. Yeah, kubeadm, kubelet, kubectl, and Podman. Podman. Yeah, I feel like it goes in here. It really does. There's no version here though. No. I mean, I don't think there is. We don't have a specific version on that. And are we gonna mark it for not updating? Probably not. I don't think we need to mark it. I don't know. I mean, it's not really related, but I don't know. I'm probably gonna end up putting a bunch of built-in. Oh, here we go. Deps. We can put. We can do this instead. Yeah, we can just put it here. Much better. Let's do that. And yeah, let's just do the depths. What tag is this? Tags. Depths. I'm gonna call it depths. All right. So Ansible playbook. -t depths -bk. Install Kate's nodes. And so let's go ahead and do that. And I just want to podman on all my targets endpoints. So that if I'm debugging them or something, I can go over there and do something. I mean, it's not going to hurt to have it. Oh, God. What is it saying? Selecting previously unselected package podman, preparing to unpack podman. What is going on? It did not seem happy. So is it because it... How's it going, Octane? What do you think? What do you think, everybody? Why is that failing? I mean, the other ones are already there. I mean, it should have been... Let's see. Unpacking podman, selecting previously unselected packages. Counters web processing temp. Dev app install needs restart. SSD package has failed. Selecting previously. I don't get the errors. Let's go look at them. Oh, I wonder if it's because it's already there. Trying to override Etsy containers policy. Fuck. Registries.conf. Why is it having a problem? I don't know. Control 2. Sudo apt install -y. Podman. Oh, there we go. Depends. Golang GitHub containers common, but is not going to be installed. Podman depends. Golang GitHub containers common, but is not going to be installed. Unmet dependencies. Try fix broken with no packages. I think we need the install requirements thing. Yeah. I broke something. I need to figure out what I broke. Apt -- fix broken. Golang GitHub containers. Golang GitHub containers common. Golang GitHub containers image. Interesting. So it must mean that APT thing did not do the right thing. Yeah, I guess it didn't do requirements. Need restart being skipped since DB package has failed. Errors were encountered. Archive image deb. Trying to overwrite positition, which is also in package containers common. We have some sort of apt conflict. This is bad. Containers registry, which is also in package containers common. Huh. That's unexpected. I kind of want to go to bed. Etsy containers policy, which is also in package. I wasn't expecting podman to go down so hard as an install. There's some sort of conflict between the containers. Ascertainment. Thank you so much. That was very nice. Thank you. Errors are encountered while processing. Go and GitHub container images. Containers coming. This is a package error. This is not good. Warning: this answer is dangerous. It may lead to a broken system. That's what I was saying. Yeah, I tried to overwrite file. Packages. I have a similar error. When I try to suggest an error message, this is what happens. And this is dangerous and may lead to a broken system because it will affect installed packages, but new problems may arise. I don't want to force override. Facebook install. We did that. Yeah, my D packages are fucked. Probably because Ansible. It could be my first run-in with bad Ansible. As a recipe for broken system. Yep. Force override should probably be the least warning disclaimer. Please don't go for an answer. You'll face all kinds of trying to overwrite error. Clicking packages need to be solved first. What I don't understand is why I have conflicting packages that are all podman. This is a podman dependency problem. Yeah. But how was I able to install it so easily on control plane without it having a problem? Did you see that, right? SSH control 1. I didn't have a problem over here. Podman. It's fine. It's only those the other control plane when I install. It's like for some reason the apt install had a problem. I do not exist. Yeah, this is troubling because I want to say that I think my Ansible app screwed up my app repository. I don't know that for sure, but I have a feeling it did. Yeah, I can't prove it, but I think it did. And I'm gonna prove it actually. So, oh, that was nice. And yeah, I don't know. This is the right thing to do actually. I don't. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's so nice, Ascertainment. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, let's see here. So why is Podman having so many problems? Control 3. I'm going to try it again over here. Sudo apt install Podman. Here we go. It says Podman is already the newest version. You might want to run aptfix to correct these. Podman. Oh wait, what? But it is not going to be installed. Podman depends on blah, but it is not going to be installed. It's already on there. I'm very confused. SSH mini 1. Which Podman? I mean, apparently it installed. Even though it had a bunch of errors. Huh. Yeah, but it seems fine. That's what I don't understand. I'm not doing a dash F. It just told me not to do that. It'll break your system. So, put yourself pub and everything. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Anyway, best way to learn Linux. Well, I did a boost on it. You can go learn that. You can look at that one too. So I mean that's it for today. We're gonna call it for tonight. And I'll put my H now. Here is my thing. We're gonna actually go raid somebody. Thank you, Ascertainment, so much for the subs and everything. And I mean I'm already kind of waning here. I will be back bright and early tomorrow. I'm gonna be doing this shit all day tomorrow because I really need to get to the SSD backups. It's like really critical that I get to that. And I'll be doing it all fucking weekend long. If I don't get to it by the end of the day tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, however, I will put a plug in for. Now, whether I work all day or not, I am definitely going to go pick up my art. We're going to go have some barbecue. Maybe a skateboard session. I'm not going to promise anything. But that's tomorrow afternoon if you want to come to that. So, super happy to have all of you here. If anybody has a suggestion for a stream raid, I'm happy to take your suggestions right now. I kind of running out of stuff. A nice stream. I mean, it was fun. It was fun. I feel like I've learned a lot. I mean, I've learned a ton. They are fun. And so thank you for all your input, especially, the people who have contributed today. There's been a lot of them. I don't want to name them because I'll end up missing somebody, but please thank you for all of that. And we'll go on. Aiden Ross. I don't know who that is.